Yo, welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of mushrooms and the people who love them. From expert cultivators to passionate foragers, we bring you deep conversations, cutting-edge insights, and everything mycology. Whether you're a seasoned mycophile or just curious, we invite you to geek out with us on the wonders of fungi and join the mushroom movement. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, the podcast that goes deep so you can level up your at-home mushroom cultivation game. I'm your host, MycoGeeky, and we got an unusual, unorthodox, and interesting show for you tonight. Yes, I'll be bringing on my buddy Ed Grand. Yes, it might get spicy, but I'm going to say a few things first. So, yeah, I'm out of town. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I am not in the MycoGeeky studio for sure. I am visiting my parents. My mom has had some health issues, so I'm back home just, trying to be a good son, see how she's doing, see if I got to keep my eye on the old folks type of a thing. So, anyway, we're doing the best we can this week live, and yeah, I get to try out this microphone. Thank you for a good return policy, Best Buy. I'm going to be returning this microphone tomorrow. Anyway, but I'm trying to keep the audio good, you know what I mean? Got to have good audio. Man, I listened to those early episodes and the audio is pretty bad. If I get a guest that's got bad audio, I surely hear about it. So, I'm trying to take care of you guys, keep things going. So anyway, I'm on rented gear here. I'm in a studio garage apartment, just trying to bring you guys some content, tonight. Anyway, so Unhinged. Yeah, man, that's this whole community right now, huh? Unhinged. I am talking every day to, I don't know, 5, 6 people usually, who are telling me how hard it is, how bad it is, how their partner stabbed them in the back. I was just in Portland, Oregon, and, wanted to meet up with somebody. Oh, they don't like me now. They don't want to meet up with me. Okay, that's fine. Cool. Well, I'm a big boy. But I did meet up with somebody else who, I'm not going to say specifically who, but they had, the last time we talked, they had some great things going on, and they were pretty optimistic. They were going to really be able to evolve their business, and me and Happy went and hung out with them, and come to find out, business partners, kind of scam artists, kind of took them for a ride. I'm hearing the story on and on, all the time, over and over again. Either somebody screwing somebody over, somebody is being deceitful, somebody is being disingenuous, somebody's here for money. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, 4 years ago, way back before, I usually talk about 3 years in the space, but it goes a little bit further back than that. That was kind of when it was just me. I don't talk about that too much, but I've been interested in the mushroom scene here online for close to 4 years. And man, it used to be fun. It used to be fun. I used to have, sincere joy growing these different cultigens. It was so exciting. Thanks to guys like Jick Fibbs, who, kind of got the tat syndicate going and got himself some tat. And the rest is history, right? So it was good back then. It was really good. I mean, man, when I did my transfers, I would just bundle up all my old plates and I just send them to one of my buddies. And there was a lot of joy in the hobby, in this cultivation hobby. And it was a real joy to bring people into the space, to help them learn how to grow mushrooms, to be kind and compassionate towards people, aware that these people might have history of suicidal ideation, history of mental health problems, history of just all sorts of destabilizing bullshit that they've had to go through in their life. And so the least I can fucking do is help these guys grow some mushrooms, see if it can do something for them. It's a different world now. Big money now, guys. Big money's coming in. Big money, big interest. Some of the OGs real mad that there's competition now. No offense to some of these OGs. Some of these OGs are legends. They are legends. They have nothing but character, and they carry themselves as leaders of the community. But not all the OGs. Some of the OGs whining like little babies, crying because they live in a capitalistic society. And now people coming to the table going, I want a piece. I want a piece. I want a piece. Everybody wants a piece. Not everybody gets a piece. Not everybody should get a piece. Who do you guys think should get a piece of the pie? Is it some flash in the pan guy that's just trying to pay rent because he can't keep a job? And if his girlfriend breaks up with him, he's going to say, sorry, guys, you're going to have to wait another month for cultures to go out. Is that who you're trying to support? I think builds up integrity around what we're all about. I think the important thing here is just start paying attention, man, to consistency. What is this person consistently doing? Are they consistently tearing people down, treating people like shit? Or are they consistently there to help people out, give advice? Sometimes give lots of advice, and then it's completely ignored. But whatever, that's fine. But just start paying attention to the people that you're giving your time and your attention to, because it's getting real in these mean myco streets, guys. My buddy Chaotic Shaman just had a post today saying something like, oh, I guess we in a myco war now. I mean, it's getting ugly, and it's sad to see. It's really sad to see that it's getting that way. Anyway, I'm not here to tear people down. I'm not here to dox people. I never have. I never will. I've never called the cops on anybody. I've never done any nasty stuff that I've heard people gossip about me about. It's just not true. I don't have the time anyway. I'm too busy frickin' taking care of my kids, being a good husband, being a good father, being a good frickin' nurse, being a good podcaster, being a good sterilizer builder. Like, I don't have time to get involved in that crap. So sorry, guys. I know this is like when you were in elementary or middle school and you heard two guys were going to fight, behind the football field, and everybody at the end of school gets in there and can't wait to just see somebody knocking heads together. Not going to happen. That's not my style. That's not what I do. I don't care what people try to come at me with, what they try to do. I'm here for positive reasons. I'm here to teach people who need to learn how to grow mushrooms by talking to other people who love to grow mushrooms. So with all that said, sorry to disappoint you. Sorry I'm not going to start spewing off the names of all the bad guys. If you guys can't figure out who the bad guys are by now, I mean, I don't know. Ask around. Ask in DMs. That's the appropriate place to get advice on that kind of stuff. And yeah, man, Info Warrior, you are right, buddy. He just said social media can get pretty toxic. I have found that to be entirely true, mostly because, like, right now I can say it's okay. Ed's in Thailand, right? So I can be like, screw you, Ed, you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. What's he going to do? He's in Thailand. He can't do anything about it, right? And that's the case with the internet. Everybody can talk smack. Everybody can be a jerk, and there's no consequence to it. It's not like, the wild, wild west where everybody had a gun on their hip and you better watch what you say because somebody might blow your frickin' head off. I bet people acted pretty right back then. Anyway, I'm not endorsing gun violence anyway, but that definitely makes people behave different. So anyway, guys, you're never going to hear me dox anybody. You're never going to hear me talk shit about anybody. Somebody could screw me over so bad, and I'm always going to be professional. I'm always going to be cool. I got too much shit to try to get done with every day to worry about gossiping and spreading rumors about people and all that stuff. And I'd hope you guys do too. So anyway, we're done with that. That's as unhinged as I'm getting. The community is definitely unhinged right now. Man, I have heard some stories. I have just heard some crazy stories. Just watch it out there. If you guys are going into business and spending real dollars towards trying to run a myco business, particularly if you got partners involved, man, you better have a partnership agreement. You better watch what you co-sign for. You better just think it all the way through, because people get real desperate when markets get unsettled and destabilized and all that kind of stuff. And man, it's it can screw you over. I've had a lot of people tell me some really sad stories. It's very unfortunate. Really good people who are here for the right reasons getting screwed over. So anyway, no more unhinged. That's as unhinged as I get. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do what we've been doing for 2 years on this show. Is talk about cultivating mushrooms. So let me bring on somebody who a lot of people love him. Some people love to hate him. But no matter what, this is a guy with a PhD in mycology, and he definitely has something to say about mushrooms. I'm talking about the one and only Ed Grand. What's up, man?
Hello.
How you doing? Hold on, let me bring on your let me get your overlay up here. All right, there we go. It's official.
Oh, cool. I was trying to figure out how to do that the other day. I think you need the premium package or something. Or I gotta
Bro,
pay.
it got expensive. I think I'm about to leave StreamYard. Yeah, it's over $80 a month now, and that's not counting my cloud storage.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! I got a couple other listed up here. There's a bunch of them now.
Riverside,
Yeah,
Quadcast,
yeah,
Boomcaster,
that's the four I got
Ecamm
listed.
Live. Yeah, I've tried them all. This was still my favorite, but man, they got bought out, and now they've doubled their subscription price, and I'm pretty sure what they're looking to do is have people leave, so they got less people to keep happy, and yeah,
Oh,
it's
could
probably
be.
working. So yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, man, well, glad to have you here. Thanks for doing this. We're gonna just talk about mushroom stuff. How about that?
Can I talk about my MLM? I've got a pallet of like conditioner.
Huh?
My Amway. I've got like a bunch of deodorant and
Mm.
like hair conditioner I need to get rid of. Can I? I got my slaps, man.
There you go. You got your slaps. That's good, man. It's been a minute.
Finally, I know. It was literally,
Too
I just had to
long.
find somebody to print them, and they did a really, really good job. I'm like quite
Nice,
impressed. I had somebody yesterday actually asked me for them. I was like, wow.
nice, nice. Yeah, man, that's good. It's all about the slaps.
I
Everybody
know.
loves the slaps.
Love
It
them.
took me years just to feel comfortable as a grown man calling them slaps and not
I
stickers.
know, I know. That's probably the first time I've used that word out loud.
Yeah,
Stickers. Stickers sounds kind of childish though too when
it
you say it.
does.
Like, oh, I got some stickers.
Yeah, if you buy some illegal drug cultures from
Yeah,
somebody and then go, but can you include some stickers,
yeah,
please?
yeah,
Can I get
exactly.
the sparkly sticker that you
Can I
have?
get extra stickers? Yes. Yeah, you're a good cultivator. I'll just put them
Yeah,
on all my clothes. I don't need to get the embroidery.
yeah,
I'll just put stickers on all my clothes, maybe on my forehead.
yeah. Isn't it crazy too? It's just fascinating how the culture in this community is an amalgamation of a lot of things.
Mm.
Definitely a lot of things from the street, a lot of street culture, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. When you meet a new person, you kind of don't know what background they're coming from, and then sometimes it takes a while to figure out like
you
where you're
don't.
trying to figure it out, and then you're like, mm. It could be
Yeah,
anywhere from like a PhD medical doctor to like just
yeah,
some 18-year-old dude slanging on the street
yeah.
corner. It's
And
like,
and you can be talking to those people for a year, become
mm.
online friends with them, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they drop oh, I did 19 years in prison for murdering somebody, and that one's a true story. Or oh, by the way, I'm a child molester. When I was young, I served 30 years, and now I'm out. That one was a shocker. And what's another one? Or like, oh, I'm an ER emergency room doc. I'm a like Oxford level mathematics professor in the UK. You name it, man. I've heard. You just don't know who you're talking to in this community
Yeah, and imagine the people that are hiding too, those people that just aren't going to come out because of their career or whatever, and they
ever.
just or maybe their background, they
Yep.
don't want it. They don't want to be out in the public.
That
Somebody
yeah.
might recognize their
Yes.
face from like a
Exactly.
wanted poster.
Yeah. Or the other one is there's a guy who is a PhD level scientist, but what cracks me up is this dude uses all the street slang. He's like, one minute he's talking super high level, the next minute it's like, yo, peep my new drop. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what, dude?
yeah, I did that the other night on accident to somebody, and it was like they just looked at me like, "Oh my God, oh, what are you talking about?" And it like scared the shit out of them. I was like, "Oh man, like all that, like I don't know, all that trailer trash stuff coming out." It's like,
Yeah, I don't know. It's like everybody, like if you're online, who wants to be themselves, I guess. So
yeah,
the vast majority of people have sort of like an alter ego online. I don't know. I can hardly handle, one persona, let alone two, but that some people dig that. That's cool. It's all good.
yeah. It's hard
Definitely.
for me to turn it on or off. I don't know people that can do that. Yeah, when you talk to them, like maybe before a podcast or something, and then when you actually start talking to them, they turn into another person. Like I
Yeah.
find that a little bit hard to deal with sometimes. I'm like, you're a different person than what we were just like. I
Yeah.
thought I knew you. I try to keep it keep it real, as they say.
Yeah. All right. So
But
Big Al, wait, who said this? Hold on. Nature Nerd just said, you can leave Detroit, but Detroit never leaves you, Ed.
yeah, that's it.
Did you ever live in actual Detroit
I
proper,
never
though?
did. No, as
Okay.
close as I got was Ann
Ann
Arbor.
Arbor, yeah.
I think I went down to about 6 Mile and Greek Town a couple
There you
times,
go.
get some dinner. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was never roaming the streets of like 8 Mile or whatever.
No. Yeah. I was, unfortunately, but yeah, it's not that bad. As long
It's
as you
not.
know somebody, it's not that bad. And as long as you don't like claim a set, you're good. So, yeah.
Yeah, the scariest thing I had, we were going to a Halloween party, and somebody who lived in like Birmingham. I don't know. It was like what's that, Royal Oak? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got lost, and we ended up getting off at the wrong exit. And I was with like three girls that were dressed in their like sexy kitty nurse outfits, and it was like 10 at night, 10:30, and I was just like, man, we stopped at this gas station, and it was like, can we just like get back on the road real quick? I think there must be another gas station up the road, like.
Yeah.
We should definitely get
I
back
did that a
on the
couple
highway.
times in South Central where I got gas in South Central and at night, and it was a little sketch. I mean, I still did it, but yeah, you were like, shit could go. This is absolutely the vibe that you
Yeah.
expect right before, like a minivan pulls up and the door opens and an Uzi just starts spraying everybody. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get my gas real quick and get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually. Knoxville was another scary place. Knoxville, Tennessee, going down I-75.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were driving back from Texas, and we for whatever reason went through Knoxville, which I had no idea would be the future my future home for 4 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, we stopped at this gas station again. My buddy was just like saw somebody had a big shirt on, a big cannabis shirt on, had pot leaves all over it, and for some reason he decided he wanted to buy some weed off this dude. So we just did this really sketchy deal back in the corner
Oh
of the
man.
parking lot, up against near some like telephone, like an old telephone, payphone, I guess they were
God,
called.
do you even remember? That
I know.
seems like another lifetime, man. Oh my
Yeah, when you see
gosh.
them now, it's like it looks like it should be in a
Oh,
museum or something. I go up and
I
press
mean,
the
it should.
buttons, like
Yeah.
like I miss pressing the buttons.
Yeah. You just made me think about, yeah, pressing payphone buttons. Wow. It's been a minute. But yeah, we're the generation that had none of it, none of the new stuff, but yet we were young enough that we got used to all the new stuff. So like I think it's, man, like I remember, do you remember trying to use the phone, but then one of your siblings would be on the phone, you'd be like, oh, get off the phone, I want to use the phone. And
Yeah,
like no one has that problem anymore. Every
I
kid has a
know.
phone now by age 9. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, trying to call that girl with your mom listening on the other line. It's like, oh come on,
Yeah.
man, Ma, it's hard enough. Can you like just give me this one little time alone? Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to call this girl. I thought you were sleeping.
Yep. Or then when I do remember when America Online came about and you'd have to dial up And sometimes that would take forever and it would get stuck. And then someone would pick up the phone while you're trying to connect. It was like the end of the world. Oh my God. Oh shit.
People don't know how good they got it these days.
They have no clue.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And then of course when we were young, all those old people, they were having the same conversations, just it was about like outhouses and milking a cow versus going to the, you know what I mean? Like this is
Walking
never.
to school. Walking to school in 6 feet of snow, but I actually did that. Michigan, yes. There's a couple times I did actually go to
Oh
school
yeah.
with like 6 foot of snow. It's like,
Yes.
but it was only like 2 miles. It wasn't like 14 miles. It's like
Yeah.
two. Nah, it's about like 6 blocks up the street.
Yeah. Exactly.
It really wasn't
Man,
that bad.
I'll tell you what's crazy is I started riding my bike to school in third grade, middle of third grade, like about 2.5, 3 miles. It was pretty much one road, one little side road. But like I was in third grade. My kid couldn't even get off the bus in third grade. I had to be there to pick them up. It's not
Yeah, I heard.
not until sixth grade that my school or our school lets the kids get off the bus by themselves. It's just another world now.
Yeah, I heard that some lady got in trouble because her kid wandered off or something, was in the backyard, wandered off, and they found him, and then they like took her kid away because
This
he
day
like
and age, every weird thing that our society does, it always goes back to some lawsuit, right? Or some horrible tragedy.
yeah.
And then we redefine our entire cultural values based on how to prevent a fluke accident from happening. Yeah, that's what we do now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. What are you going to do? Time moves on. You know, every generation thinks they invented a good time. You know, everybody thinks they invented coolness. Coolness has been around, right? It's a delusion of the youth. You know,
I see it here. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Like Air Jordans are like really super popular here now. Like Air
Yeah.
Jordans and like the baggy, like kind of like skater style before it became like sort of hip hop baggy. It's like
Yeah.
making that transition. It's like, oh, maybe I should invest in those pants that I know are going to be popular next year.
I like this guy just said, Transcendental Love just said, don't wander off at 13 years old, but here's a machine gun at 18 years old. Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, pretty much. What are you going to do? It's hard. All this stuff is hard. Society's hard. And I think a lot of our societal issues, they're not going to get easier because we're so overpopulated. There's so many people. And there's only becoming more and more people, right? So yeah, I don't know. A lot of this stuff is not getting easier for sure. I did see a mushroom question, and this will be a perfect segue back into actually talking about cultivation, but y'all know we were going to talk about random shit too, right? Hold on, where is it? Here we go. So last week's guest, the one and only Stinkyfoot, says, any thoughts on releasing untested crosses? I would say, who's testing these crosses? How are they doing it? Do we have any information about their protocol or the approach that they're using to test the validity of a cross?
Yeah.
To my knowledge, no one's talking about any actual. Ed and I have talked on the show about it. We've talked about ways it might be done using SSR regions, microsatellite regions, or what's the new one? ALPM or something.
Oh yeah, there's
The
AFLPs, ISSRs,
yeah.
STRs. It's all that microsatellite
Yeah,
stuff. There's
so
about
there's ways to
15.
do it, but to my knowledge, I am not. I don't know anybody doing any of those methods. I know I'm sure there's random people claiming they're doing this stuff everywhere all the time. But like, unfortunately for me, you can't just go watch my magic trick. Give me $300, I'll do your magic trick. So yeah, my belief about releasing untested crosses is: are you selling mushroom spores or mushroom cultures? If you are, then and you show a photo of what you're selling them, then I don't see any problems with that. Why is that a problem? Some of the greatest strains, cultigens, whatever you want to call them, they were just done by double swabbing fruits, by smearing a bunch of, different spores together. And because of a lot of genetic diversity things built into genetics, they cross readily. And nobody's asking anybody to test those. It's interesting how this whole paternity testing of crosses became an issue once more people knew how to do mon crosses. I will say that. Like, before Ed and I started talking about it, I didn't hear anybody going around trying to police all this and go, what do you think? Or you don't do that. Freeze. We got you. And I know people are bullshitting out there. I'm not saying they're not. But I'm also just saying it is interesting that a lot of this talk about releasing untested stuff happened when there were a lot more people starting to do crosses. That's all I got to say.
I think we end up back in the same problem. I didn't even really think about this a couple years ago, but you end up having some sort of authority that you have to go to check your cross. And that's kind of, I don't know, is that even better than just not checking? Because I don't know, this, what do they call it, cronyism, and this kind of a, it's like, of course, if my buddy sends me his cross, and yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't know, if he's selling it as a certain cross, I'm gonna probably say, yeah, it's a cross. And then, I mean, there's no transparencies in the methodology. Like, you can't replicate a lot of these things, and then you got to share cultures with other people. I didn't realize, like, from a theoretical, kind of scientific viewpoint, it seems like a really, really good idea. But the practical aspect of it, you're back to the same thing. It's like when you're getting COAs for your, like, new weed strain from, like, your buddy who runs the shop.
Oh, but my COA says it has this much in it. Doesn't,
I know, big deal.
It means zero.
Your buddy's got a PDF template.
Yeah.
He puts
you should see my COAs. What's your COA? 13%? Mine's 15%. Hold on just a minute. Let me re-edit it. There it is. 15%.
Oh, dude, you haven't seen my 10% new cross, man? Let me find it here.
You can do it, Ed. If anybody can do it.
I'm going for 15 now. I want half the fucking mushroom to be psilocybin.
Yes. It needs to just glow and pulsate blue psilocin polymers. Just needs to be like, yes.
I wanted to be an actual poison.
You have a trip just glancing at it.
Yes. Just sniff it.
It's just like radiating.
Did you ever see that movie Perfume? That like
a long time ago.
Yeah,
man.
that's a crazy. Movie. The last few minutes of that movie are really, really crazy, man. It's like,
if I remember that, I know why you like the end of that movie.
Yeah. I didn't expect it. I was watching it, and I'm just like, this is kind of a weird movie, some foreign movie, whatever. I don't even know if it was, but that last part, it's like, oh, okay. Now the rest of this dumb shit makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something.
Netflix is going to see a little bump in Perfume views here this week, all because of that.
Yeah, and then everybody will just go to the last 5 minutes and be like, what was Ed talking about?
Exactly. All right, so Myco Mama said, Raymond Medici did some awesome crosses swabbing 2 fruit. Yeah, Myco Mamas, a lot of people done cool crosses swabbing 2 fruit. Because it doesn't matter how you get to monos to dikaryotize. It doesn't matter how you get to do Buller phenomenon. It just matters that it happens. So yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say the majority, although, I mean, very recently between simply you and DK and maybe Natural State and a few other people, there are a lot of crosses now, but before that, it was all pretty much double cross. These people that are saying they're using snake venom and all that stuff, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it, guys. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I've been advocating a lot for multi-spore, like 2 multi-spore syringes in like BRF tech cakes recently. Yeah. I don't know why people are making so many multi-spore syringes, but I'm like, if you got all these multi-spore syringes laying around, why not just shoot 2 of them into a BRF cake?
Yeah.
I mean, can't go wrong. You're still going to grow mushrooms, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, there's some talk these days of outcrossing. And, that's happening in nature all the time, right? You have a mushroom patch on one side of the hill, and then you got a mushroom patch on the other side of the hill. And in the morning, the wind's going to the east as the spores disperse. And then in the afternoon, they switch sides, and they all fall down, and they all do that. So yeah, sure, fine, great. But you can't, the outcrossing, you can't just say that's what's happening. You have to, you gotta have some logic behind it, right? Like, so if for people, right, and Ed, you can back me up on this. If I marry my neighbor, I probably didn't do much outcrossing. But now it's also could be the case I could marry and have offspring from someone who lives 2 hours down the road, but it could also be the case that their genetic background would also mean that I'm not outcrossing with them.
Definitely.
Now, if I go to Detroit and marry a hot black chick and we have kids, then we outcrossed, right? Like you got to think all that stuff all the way through.
I know.
But
That's
yeah.
why I live in Asia, you know.
You
I've
were
got
born to outcross.
I've got enough genetic recessive whatever recessive alleles to get rid of. I got to dilute them out, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Got probably alcoholism, Alzheimer's, like
Oh
high
my
blood
God.
pressure, diabetes, you know. If I procreate with like an Asian woman, then all that goes away.
Yeah, but then liver cirrhosis will enter your genetic profile, so you gotta be careful. There's
Yeah,
pluses and minuses everywhere you
yeah, they
go.
have some weird ones. Thalassemia. You never
Yep.
see it in the
Yes.
West,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people.
Yep.
It's like something crazy. Like 50% of
Yeah.
the people are carriers for that.
Yeah. I mean, with the more you're familiar with different both races and ethnicities, you start seeing more of that. Like even like Northern European nationalities, they for some reason notoriously don't have good cholesterol, like the LDLs. They just always struggle to have those higher for some reason. And black people get sickle cell. There's every population of human beings has their own little problems. And so yeah, pro outcrossing, guys. We need to
Definitely.
do more outcrossing and yeah, get rid of some of these troublesome alleles. Yes.
That's funny here. They're getting a lot of the metabolic diseases, I guess what they're called now, because everybody's getting bigger. And it's like
Yeah.
now they're getting like you've got these like 23-year-old kids on like diabetic medicine and stuff, and it's like holy crap. Like
Yeah, that's making the little girls have their menses early and everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? Precocious puberty? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
this would be quite the same. I think that there's some different mechanisms at play there, but yeah, it is making for sure the puberty, I mean, is more precocious, yeah. But yeah, that used to be a rarity. You know, a kid gets pubic hair when they're 8 or 9 years old and starts having their period. That was rare, anomalous, not now. Now it's pretty common. Yeah. So, hey, I got the perfect segue. We keep trying to talk about mushrooms. So here we go. Pete wants to know if there's updates on the sodium polyacrylate experiments with substrate. So why don't you just talk to people about how you got this idea, and then what you're kind of trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, so I got it from the stuff that's in diapers, basically. The new modern diapers, the ones that are super absorbent, or I guess they put them in maxi pads too, whatever they're called, sanitary napkins. So yeah, I just basically got the idea. I tried cutting one of the diapers open to get it maybe to like it's sort of embedded in the thing. So I ended up going online and just getting straight sodium polyacrylate. I think you can get potassium polyacrylate also. Not acrylamide. Acrylamide's a different thing. You know,
Okay.
that's gel electrophoresis. So yeah, I just went on and got like a kilo of this stuff. And there's these they're tiny little, I guess they're like the Orbeez. They're the same thing, I'm pretty sure, as the Orbeez. Except for the stuff I got's much smaller. It's probably just like an eighth of an inch, like little granules. It's
Okay.
like kind of like big sand grains. And yeah, it absorbs like something crazy, like 200
Oh yeah.
times. It's like I measured out 2 grams and then I hydrated it, and it got to like 270 grams, I think, with the water. And so I
Wow.
thought I could put that in my sub, or I could rehydrate it before I mix it with my sub. So what I did first is I rehydrated it and then mixed it in, and that worked okay. But what I did the last time is actually just put it straight in with my CV and boiled it. And I think it got like overhydrated or something
Wow.
when it was like warm.
Sure.
And what I've noticed is kind of when I mix the sub with the spawn, I think there's that osmosis thing. Oh, it's a bad word, osmolarity. I think what's happening is the spawn, because it's got the sugars and things like that that can dissolve in the water. What it's doing, it's pulling the water back out of
Right.
the polyacrylate, which is probably good in a sense that if I get the ratio right, it'll probably be good for the mycelium. Because I was a little worried like maybe the mycelium couldn't draw the water out. But I think if I hit the right level, I think it'll work really, really well.
And all, yeah, in my research, I think if you get the dose right, the amount of it right, I think
Hmm.
it could work really well. The other thing that I got to thinking about that might be interesting is right now everybody use right, vermiculite to
Hmm.
hold as some sort of water retaining particle within the substrate. But it doesn't change size. I mean, and maybe it does, but it would be a nominal, an extremely nominal size change. But what's really fascinating about beads is that they might get smaller, and if you get a really aggressive bit of mycelial growth in an area and it's sucking out these, these little beads, then it might create more space for air, which obviously is great because that's what the mycelium love to breathe. So yeah,
Hmm.
it might actually have some advantages beyond just being an alternate way to store water in your substrate. It might have some like mechanical advantages too.
I think you're right. That's exactly what it's doing. I had some extra, and I tried popping some cannabis seeds in there, and it's doing that. It's probably over the last 3 or 4 days. It's probably lost a third of its initial volume,
Hmm.
and they're just kind of shrinking. And there's little like air voids in there, which I'm not sure. Like maybe it'll cause some problems with the cake shrinking. I don't know. I just started messing
Yes, the
around with it
trick
like two
is
weeks
like
ago.
to get the ratio right so that it doesn't shrink too much. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you have to do
exactly.
some experimentation for sure on that.
Stuff's pretty cheap, so I don't know, but I think people have been doing it. I know before anybody. I don't know. Probably about every Facebook post I do, somebody gets on there and they're like, "Oh, Ed's
I did
grabbing
that. Yeah.
somebody." That,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. It's like no shit, dude. I've been telling you this. But like the Chinese did it already. Whatever you think you did, some Chinese dude did it already.
Right.
like, and it's like we can't read Chinese, so we don't know. I'm sure there's cube growers in China too. But yeah,
Yeah.
people like they attack you. They're like, it's like, no, 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 I'm not stealing the water storage tech or whatever. I'm not still like somebody was like, oh, the grabber drag, it's just like streaking, and it's like, yeah, no shit. That's where I got. That's where it came from. But it's like people, I don't know, they'd like to put their brand or they're like, oh, look at what I found. It's like, you
Yeah.
sure? Like, oh wow, like I found a new sugar source for my mushrooms. Like, oh, that's fucking genius, man.
Yes. All right, Jesse Tinsley says, I've tried the diaper guts. I love that you call them diaper guts. That's amazing. And I've tried Orbeez. They attract gnats unbelievably. Well, Ed's about to find out. Hopefully that's not
Yeah,
true.
I think the gnats, people are trying to get those like 7 flush like tubs. I don't know. I get rid
Yeah,
of my 2 flushes and I'm throwing them away.
bro.
I'm
I'm unless I'm madly in love with what I got on the first flush, I'm one and done. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually too. It's almost like with the shoebox, especially if they don't rehydrate really well. That'll probably be where the polyacrylate might be a weird thing
Yeah.
too, because if it expands and
Right.
contracts, it might just cause the cake to like disintegrate or something. Um,
Yes.
I just
Who knows? Maybe in the future you're just going to squirt some liquid culture directly into a diaper, and you just grow them straight off the diaper.
that's what's
And then you'll be you'll be world famous for being the only cube cultivator that has two diaper techs.
okay. Okay, somebody mentioned last week Ask Track Tech, and I kicked him off the channel. I
What is
banned and
that?
deleted it. I don't know. Maybe that's what they were talking about. I'm sorry, whoever that was. I'm sorry, but I
Mhm.
took them off the ban list. But I thought they were trying to go down some. I don't know where they were going. I was having a low tolerance last week, and I was just like, yeah, bye bye. Once you start
I
hitting
hear
that
you.
button,
Yeah.
it's like that button. It's like one of those psychological experiments where they keep shocking people with higher voltages. It's like, like you'll get another extra $100 if you just increase the voltage 10
Yeah.
volts, but
Yeah.
there's a 90% chance they'll
You'll kill
die.
them.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then you're like,
Oh well.
it's okay.
I like
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not dead yet.
Yep.
Another 10 volts won't hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's like I went to Georgetown to study debate for the summer before I went off to college. I was possibly going to go there to do debate and forensics. And one of the classes I took, they actually studied, we had to study Hitler as a master orator. You know, like he was a good at giving speeches, man. Look what he convinced everybody to do, man. This guy was motivating. But in the beginning, I mean, he didn't come out of the gate crazy as hell, right?
Yeah.
He worked slowly, moved in that direction of getting crazy. So you gotta watch out. You never know
I'm
what.
sure all these people, are probably you start off. I get a little bit afraid of that possibility sometimes. Especially when you're on, like when I'm doing my lives and stuff. I gotta remember, like like don't. I don't even know how to describe it, but you got to keep yourself in check. You got to remember that, like, yeah, don't go too far off the
Yeah.
rails. It's okay to get kind of wacky sometimes, but like you got to
But
pull
it's
yourself
also
back
your
in once in a while.
surroundings too. When you're and this speaks to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. When the surroundings get crazy, it's easier to get crazy.
Yeah,
And yeah, lately, guys, it's getting crazy. So, man, find your
It's like
center. Do what you need to
escalates.
do. Yeah. Okay, Jose. There it is. Thank you, Ed. That was me. I guess. I guess. Okay, Jose was the person.
Oh
that
yeah,
said
that's
that.
right. It was him. Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that,
There
Jose.
you go.
So now,
There you
so
go.
if anybody ever fucking, that's Jose's idea, like that ass crack tech. Now you're gonna have to write it up, Jose.
Man, but it gets that way sometimes. Or if you live in Detroit, it bees that way sometimes because some people are coming at you. Some people are being assholes, and you're like, man, I'm trying to do a podcast. I'm trying to be productive and help people and have a good time and make it entertaining. And then I got this douchebag in the chat saying this and that and the other thing, and so it's easy to overreact too. I've banned people, and then they message me going, "Hey, dude, all I said was such and such, and all I meant by that was such and such." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm stupid. I totally, I missed that entirely." Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Thanks,
wait,
Natasha.
it's taking things out of you got to be careful every time if you hear somebody, you hear a quote from somebody and it's totally out of context. And
Yeah.
then it's easy to, I mean, people got to remember too, like when they're writing little comments, it might be funny in their head also, but they got to think about like how other people are going to take it too.
Yeah, and then in text, I mean, there's no inflection, there's no
Yeah,
emphasis, there's no wait. You just have no idea how to take stuff. It's sometimes you just screw up. So yeah, nobody. The few times that has happened, I just said I'm sorry. I totally misinterpreted that, and it was all good. So yeah. All right. So where are we at here? So yeah, with so you're still running it. We don't have any like conclusive. That's probably going to be a fairly ongoing thing for a little while, I would say.
Yeah, I think
Probably
other
gotta.
people are gonna definitely gotta, yeah, hopefully we'll come to some sort of consensus. And I hope people share because that stuff's so cheap.
Yeah.
I did do a little control experiment where I actually took one bag of Spawn and I had my same CV in one of the shoe boxes. I just put the polyacrylate in it, and it seems to be like it's like colonizing better. The little mycelium's bursting through the surface a little bit faster, which just makes sense because it's got more water in there. But I'm really curious to see like how many fruit, because I've been having this trouble with getting the aborts with my shoe boxes. There's just not enough substrate in there,
Yeah.
enough substrate, and so I really backed off on the amount of Spawn that I've been using to try to basically make my spawn to substrate ratio lower, right? Like less spawn, more substrate.
Yeah.
And that's been working really well. And I see a lot of people have trouble, the same trouble. You get these like half to 2/3 size fruits. They're not even really aborts because you could tell they were going to be a full size fruit, and then they just like run out of water.
Yep.
And
I
I've been
mean,
having
so
that
they're
happen a
sort of
lot.
aborting it just for a different reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a real struggle too, because for me, I came into the space learning 3 to 4 inch cakes, in monotubs. And I did that. But that's even if you're running a 20 or a 32 quart monotub, let alone a 66 quart, it's a lot of stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
that adds up real quick.
Crazy.
But when I moved to bags, I could start playing around, and I think the thinnest cake I ever got to fruit was like just a hair over a ½ inch, like maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch, but it just looked like a sliver, and I got fruit from that. And so I just kept playing around with like, where's the sweet spot for how I grow mushrooms, what works for me. I do three quarts of spawn, or 3 quarts of sub, 1 quart of spawn. So it ends up being basic. And my quarts are a little bit light because my grain jars are not entirely full to the brim because I got to shake them. So it's even less than that. And it's like, I don't even think it's a 2-inch cake, or maybe it's right around a 2-inch cake. And I've had monsters. I've had 200-gram fruits grow out of those. Maybe not as consistently as 3 and 4-inch cakes, but at the end of the day, I don't even like having cakes or like having fruits that big. So I'm not crying about it. Yeah, like these giant obnoxious fruits. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, so people
Chop it
like
up.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's good when you get a big fruit once in a while. It's kind of cool to see it, but it's really not like good for anything except for chopping up, right?
Yeah. Yep. All right. So what were some of the other topics we're going to talk about here? Oh yeah, well, size. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, for people who haven't been around that long and who haven't listened to the thousands of hours of the show, we have talked about this. But as a general rule, your first flush is when you're likely going to get your canopy. You're going to get like an even size distribution of your fruits. They're going to relatively be about the same size. Then your second flush is when you can start seeing some big boys show up. Now, you can also see bigger fruits show up if you have greater cake depth. So those are all things that seem to be generally true, though, there's always exceptions. But man, I don't know. I'm not... Nobody jumps out of the woodwork and says, "Oh my God, you grew a 300-gram fruit. You win an Oscar and come to Hollywood." Like, it doesn't work that way. It just means I got to chop this fucking fruit up and try to dry it out. Yeah.
Maybe there's some OnlyFans channels we don't know about for really big fruit. Huge fruit.
Oh my God. There probably are.
Fruits. There probably might be. Somebody was telling me they made an OnlyFans channel for I forgot what they were selling, but people use it for all kinds of things, not just like the adults. I don't know, like somebody told me now like Twitter is like big for like picking up girls like over here. Like it's like
What
Tinder.
is?
Twitter. They were saying that
Twitter?
like you go on like dudes over here now are going on like Twitter to like find girls and stuff. They're professional girls
Sure,
and not
yeah.
like the other kind of professional girls. And it's like, really, like Twitter, like X, like that one. And they were like, yeah, that's where they're at now. I hang out with a pretty seedy motherfucker.
Man, I'm so glad I'm not involved in any of that crap. Oh my God. You used to have game. Hey, kids watching this show, you used to have to actually have game and be able to talk to people. And yeah, it wasn't about the angle of your photograph to make your penis look a certain way. And y'all playing weird games these days. That's all I got to say. You guys are playing weird games. Go talk to some girls. It's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I don't even want to go. I meet some of the younger guys, some of the American guys that I meet over here in their 25 to 30-year-old range. It's really quite hard to talk to them. I'll just be honest. They seem really weird, like really, really weird. I don't know what they do in their free time or whatever, but I'm just talking to them. Like, it seems like you've had none of the experiences I had when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I was an introvert. Like, but compared to like some of these dudes I meet, it's like, wow, know how many times do you go outside? Like, do you ever go outside, or do you ever talk to anybody else that's not on a video game that you're
Not
playing?
now. Not now. They talk to everybody like this. That's all they do.
Pretty wild.
Now, I got a question for you. You said something about you sterilized it after you hydrated it. Have you tried sterilizing it dry? And what
No,
are
I
your
didn't.
thoughts on that?
So I just boiled it. I didn't really sterilize it.
Okay.
I had wondered about that in the pressure cooker if something weird might happen, like it might get super, super hydrated and like, I
Yeah.
don't know, blow up or something. I don't know. I haven't tried the pressure cooker yet. I would imagine you don't need to probably. The only reason I like boiled it was so it would rehydrate.
Right.
I wasn't too worried about it being like dirty. It was just I figured that was just the more convenient way to
Because
hydrate it.
it's generally inert, right? Like no
I
bacteria
think
are going to
so.
proliferate on it.
Yeah, I think it's like aluminum foil and plastic wrap. It comes out of some factory
Okay.
shoot, I'm sure that's
Yeah.
probably at like 600 degrees Fahrenheit. It's probably sterile.
There you go. Okay.
Who knows? After it's been sitting in my kitchen for a while, maybe not, but I just
Yeah.
kind of I do a lot of stuff out of convenience, like making my sub in those big pots. Like that kind of just started out of convenience. I just like throwing it all into one pot and turn it on the burner.
Right.
Well, like it's just really easier for me. That's how I got those huge forearms.
I know, dude. I tried it. I think I can't remember who I was talking to, Happy, or who I was talking to, but yeah, and I'm just like, for me, I was just going to the nth degree because at first I tried to do like bigger balls,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't quite squish it enough. So then it got a little bit smaller, and I just still felt like I wasn't quite getting enough moisture out. So I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. I
There's a
tried.
size. You got to get the proper size. But I
I
constantly have
gave
on
up.
my finger right there where I don't know the way I
Oh yeah,
grab it.
yeah. Oh, I
Like a
trust
good
me. I know what you're talking about. I got all sorts of. I like started. I would get so fatigued after 3 bucket techs that I was like resting my arm, just trying to like press down on. Oh man, I had a million different ways of trying to do that stuff, but
I used to bought
yeah,
a
it didn't.
tortilla press that I was trying to do, and then somebody, people are talking about like like the apple cider presses, the old school
Yeah.
like wine presses. But then you got to clean all that stuff, and then it's gonna
Yep.
get dirty, and you got to make sure it doesn't get dusty for the next time you use it. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I only do shoe boxes. I can't imagine like a 60 quart mono tub. Like that would maybe be too much. I can do about 8 shoe boxes, and then I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
But if you were doing like 4 or 5, like 60 quart mono tubs, that I don't see that happening. You have to bucket tech. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, man. Okay, so let's move on to. We were going to talk about low newt gels. What do you want to do first? Osmolarity and osmosis, or low newt gels for germination?
Oh, I think those are kind of related. So
They
I've
are.
been,
So maybe osmolarity first.
yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. I think the best way to explain osmolarity is that, like, when you put salt on cucumbers, like I was trying to think, like everybody's probably done that, right? Like you slice some cucumbers and you put some salt on it, and then you come back and there's this big puddle of water on the plate. Like that's basically osmosis. So what you're doing is the kind of relatively pure water inside of the cucumber is coming out of the cucumber, and when you get that little bit of solution, what it's trying to do is it's trying to dilute that salt solution that's being created, and the way it does that is by basically sucking water out of the cucumber. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's sucking. I think that's why we need a fancy word for it, because there's not really a good word. It's not like you're not like sucking. It's osmosis. So the idea is I'm getting a slight reverb and it's fucking with my speech. I don't know
Oh,
what it
I
is.
had the same. I had to go buy these for the same reason because I don't have my usual setup, and I'm monitoring 2 ways for the same
Oh,
reason. Yeah, it
okay,
drives me
okay.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time talking a little bit. So, but yeah, when you get that water coming out of the cucumbers, what's happened is the cucumber is like a semi-permeable membrane. And so it's trying to basically, the water's leaving the cucumbers and trying to make that salt solution the same as it is inside and
Yep.
outside, but it's never going to get there.
Yeah,
So,
man, that's what people don't realize. It's kind of cracked me up. All the new like sugar-free Gatorade. the whole original reason that Gatorade was not just because of the additional minerals and electrolytes. It also had sugar in it, which if you were volume depleted as an athlete doing all this work and you're trying to rehydrate rapidly, you're both taking in liquid, but now you're taking in a very saturated liquid that's then going to go into your veins, and it's then going to help pull and equalize between your interstitial fluid and your vascular space. So all these new, like, it's Gatorade, but there's no sugar in it. Well, so it's just water now. It's not as special as it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, haven't seen that. That sounds kind of counterproductive. Like, why would you?
But I mean, in general, I usually tell people, have you ever had Gatorade? And you're like, this is like too salty. This is like too much. It doesn't taste good. That means you don't need Gatorade. If you drink Gatorade after doing extreme workout, it tastes so good because you've sweat out all these, electrolytes and it just tastes good. Yeah.
That's probably marketing, right? I mean, people are just trying to stay away from sugar. So sugar's become evil.
Yeah. Yeah. So Gatorade goes, well, okay, we get rid of the sugar, even though that was the whole point. But yeah, let's just get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they call it, it's basically salty water. That's what they call it. It's but it's got sugar in it because sugar tastes good. But
yeah. Yep.
It's
so this concept of osmolarity, this idea that fluids in different spaces want to be the same is basically the idea. And so in semi-permeable membranes in living things can move back and forth to try to equalize out, and it's usually water. It doesn't always have to be, but so if something is more saturated with sugars and minerals and all that stuff, then the fluid from the other outside space will pull into that. So your cucumber is literally moving its water out of its cells to try to match all that. So how does that apply to spore germination? Why should we be thinking about osmolarity for spore germination?
I think because when we use the high nutrient, it could be things like sugars, but it could also be like just the salty stuff that might be in, say, something like sorghum syrup. I'm really wondering about the sorghum syrup. This is why I started thinking about this about 2 or 3 months ago. Somebody was having trouble germinating their spores on the sorghum agar. And I didn't know that. I thought sorghum syrup was like corn syrup. It was just like sugar that was from, I don't know, starch, hydrolyzed starch or whatever. But it turns out sorghum syrup is actually like the sap from, it's like sugar cane juice, like the same way they make cane sugar, like normal white. Well, they might make it from beets in the US, but but I didn't realize that. And then I started thinking like, well, maybe when you press that sap out of the sorghum and then you turn it into sugar, it just concentrates these salts and all that stuff that was in the plant. So it's kind of like just like plant sap. And I was thinking that probably has a lot of dissolved minerals and, sodium and potassium and things like this in it. And it's probably inhibiting the spore germination because what's happening is you put those spores on there, maybe they have a little bit of liquid inside them. And if that liquid is trying to leave the spore because of osmosis, that's going to inhibit the germination. You're basically like desiccating the spores on accident. Right. And so I think that's why maybe when you put like your spores in pure water before, if you have some stubborn spores, you can suspend them in pure water and then plate them. You get them like nice and super hydrated. Or like what I did is I streaked some old spores and they weren't germinating. So I squirted some pure water on top of the agar plate, just to like dilute that sugar and that salt that might be in your media. And then I think that just gives the spores a better chance of germinating. And I think that's why water agar and water gelin works so well.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating that water agar has become definitely a staple germination approach for a lot of people. And I've always thought, well, I'm going to run a low nute plate and a water agar plate. So usually when I have a 2 swab set, 1 swab goes, for a water agar plate, 1 goes for the lower nute plate. And I always did low nut just because I thought, well, I don't want to give high nutrition to encourage bacterial growth or other contamination. And I only want the like strongest spores to be able to germinate. But it's fascinating that maybe it doesn't even have as much to do with that as it has to do with the osmolarity.
Yeah, that's funny because that's exactly what I think most people. I think I used to also think that too. Was
Hmm.
I are you thinking low nutrient because if you do have some contamination, you don't want the contamination to outcompete your mushroom spores. But
Yeah.
when you start working with clean swabs like we do now, like
Right.
once we figured out how to swab properly and like people aren't selling like crappy like swabs that they whatever
Yep.
that they dropped on the floor or whatever happened, yeah, like we have clean swabs now, so you don't have to worry too much about your contaminants anymore. So I know, yeah, like water agar was basically for cleaning up your dirty spores or whatever, right? But that's not really maybe the real reason why it works so well.
Yeah. I
Could be
mean,
just
just
combination of stuff.
it could be both of those things too. But to me, it's just fascinating that for sure there are probably been instances of spores that had too much stuff coming at them. And
Mm.
that little spore is going, what are you trying to throw at me here? So yeah, I think it's cool just thinking, okay, so one general approach to germinating spores then focuses on the hydration, focuses on giving it a reason to wake up instead of going feed it, feed it, feed it. It's more hydrate it, hydrate it, hydrate it first.
Yeah, and it makes sense like out in nature. Like, there's not
Yeah,
like 2% LME plates out on a log. Like when a spore lands on a log or a pile of cow shit, like there's very little nutrition there. And
yeah,
that's probably when they germinate, right? It's kind of
exactly.
like I
Yep,
kind of borrowed this from the pot growers too. It's like, well, they always talk about over fertilizing, don't feed.
yeah,
And when you pop seeds, what do? You put them in a baggie, with with a piece of paper towel,
yep,
and that's how people have been doing it for decades, probably hundreds of years. Well, they probably didn't have plastic bags, but you put it in a paper towel or probably a handkerchief or whatever, and you germinate your seeds, and they don't need any nutrition. I mean, a seed's a
right.
way, much, much bigger than a spore, but I think
Yep,
it's the same basic idea is that they're not really designed, like spores aren't really designed to land on something super nutritious. Like that's not where they land in nature, like the outside
yep,
of some sun-baked water saw, a log that's been rained on 100 times. It's pretty much like a blank canvas, and that's where they land.
yep.
Well,
Yeah,
like
well,
so
and
that's
then
what.
also, right, why myceliate if it's all right there? Right? That
Yeah,
whole why even be shaped the way you're shaped? And then also the most important thing is obviously it's all about the water cuz when do all of us go wander around the woods looking for mushrooms after it's rained, right?
or when I'm really hot.
Yeah.
When
There you go. Or when I'm really hot. Yeah. When I'm
I'm
tripping
out there with
balls.
my UV light looking for scorpions and mushrooms, man.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I like that. I think that's just changes how I think about that stuff for sure. Now, another thing, I was doing some research and it was, I read, where did I read this? Some article was talking about that you could also bathe the spores in a basically like a broth, like you're doing an LC broth. So, like and this kind of goes into what you're talking about of taking two multi-spore syringes and shooting them into a bag, or shooting them into liquid culture together, right? Like giving them just the tiniest bit of sugar, but you're mostly giving them water. And maybe
Mm.
that will wake some of them up. Just that little addition of a sugar source. So I don't know. Things to play with and try. And maybe somebody listening today wants to go do some science experiments and figure all that out for us.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm sure all of what we just said, some guy who's been doing this for 30 years can be like, oh, yeah, no shit, dumbass. It's like everybody knows that. And yeah, but a lot of these things, I don't hear people like explain them or they don't really quite understand what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
I love it when I can actually understand what I'm doing. I don't like kind of like just doing something because somebody told me to do it. Like, it's
Right.
like, there must be a reason why I'm supposed to use water agar, but I
Yep.
don't quite know why. And like, let me think about this for a little while. Like,
'Cause he did it.
yeah, because
'Cause she did it. Yeah.
Bob,
Exactly.
man. Do you
Now,
remember Bob?
so Whitebeard just brought up a good point, which is also something I had been doing for a long time, and then I just haven't for probably the last year. But when I knew I was going to germinate spores, I would use less agar. So, like, I'd try to get as low agar. So, for a liter, I normally run 20 grams of agar. If I'm doing germ plates, I would usually run 12. They are not as shelf
Mm-hmm.
stable for as long. They will go watery sooner, but they are just wetter. They're not as firm. So when you're
Yeah.
streaking, it's a juicier little soup for them little spores to play in,
Yep.
and it's
Exactly.
definitely not a bad idea. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
I noticed
Whitebeard
that with the
says
gel end gum also. That's why I was kind of more
yes.
fascinated because with the gel end gum, you can mess around with the magnesium and the gel concentration.
Hmm.
So I think there must be like somebody's gonna figure out like where that sweet spot is for like I think I use 0.1% magnesium, like Epsom salt.
Okay.
That's like the by weight Epsom salt. And it seems like maybe it's a little bit too much Epsom salt, so maybe I could back off on that. But then you might, yeah, it's just whether it's going to be more soupy, like, and it's also personal preference. Like for if you're trying to
Right.
pick monokaryons or whatever, sometimes it's a little bit easier to pick. It's really like your own technique. I think some people might like the kind of softer
Mm-hmm.
gel, and some like it. Like the recipe I use for the gel and gum, it's pretty stiff, but I kind of like that. I
Yeah,
don't know if
so
it.
so dude, and I don't you I got a recipe from you for you sent me some gel and gum and I was about to mess with it. I have run gel and gum a bunch in the past, but I got it from Tim a tip of the cap and I would get his premixes. So I never did any of the mix. So I don't know if he was putting in what is that magphosphate? What is Epsom salt?
Sulfate,
It's the
magnesium
sulfate. Okay.
sulfate.
So I don't know if he put any of that in it, but I know he used the hyactyl. And if I requested that I wanted his special mix for spore germination, he would use half the gel and gum.
Mm,
And they were barely holding their shape. They were very wet, but boy, they were just magic to germinate spores on. Like
mm,
in one day I could see germination, like visible germination oftentimes.
mm.
It was crazy. So but that all goes back into everything you've been saying, which is water, 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 you know,
Mm.
osmolarity on point.
I think it gets even a little bit more complicated when you talk about legilidium gum. A lot of people have been mentioning these other things.
Hmm.
So there's a small little chemistry lesson here. So water basically sticks to itself through hydrogen bonding. Like
Hmm.
not hydrogen bonds, a covalent bond, but it's called hydrogen bonding. And it's basically why raindrops are round. Why
Right.
water is like cohesive to itself. And so the idea with like a lot of these polysaccharide sugars, they have these OH groups, like hydroxyl groups. Like if you look at a sugar, like a glucose molecule, will have all these OHs, and
Right.
those OHs can hydrogen bond to water molecules. So depending on how
Okay.
many of those free hydroxyl groups they call them, depending on how many of those groups you have, that water that's in your gel may or may be like more or less like free, basically. So I think it's also might be a very interesting if people start messing around with like these other, like I guess there's agar from different types of algae.
Right.
And it's like there's like 4 or 5 different kinds of algae that they make agar from, or seaweed, I guess. And I'm really fascinated to see if people start messing around with that kind of stuff. Because these things are so readily available now. You just go online and you can buy like 20 different kinds of gelling agents. You know, all that molecular
Yeah.
cooking stuff, molecular gastronomy stuff.
Yep.
Now, like, who the hell knew what xanthan gum was 10 years ago? Now you buy it like at the fucking baking aisle, you know? Like, what
Yep.
the hell is xanthan gum? And now you can just buy it in the bakery aisle next to the cookies or whatever, or the
Yep.
chocolate chips. And there's so many of those different things. And yeah, messing around with the nutrients and the salts concentrations and all this stuff. So the magnesium does the cross-linking thing. You can also use calcium salts. There's a
Right.
whole lot of room for
Now I'm
somebody to come
sitting.
up with
I'm
that
sitting. Right.
perfect plate.
Right. The perfect plate,
Your new
which
company.
I'm growing mushrooms just fine. I can't get rid of them as it is. I don't know how much better I need to grow them. So I'm sitting back here going, somebody else can play those games. I don't see the I don't see the need for that. Same with like this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I fell in love with the art of agar and the perfect plates and all that stuff. But that was back when before the microcentrifuge tube of it all. That was back before LC is king. That was when it was all about the plate game, and there's no better way to sell plates than make them look pretty.
Yeah.
But it don't mean your mushroom's gonna look any prettier than my ugly ass plate growing some sexy mushrooms. Let me tell you what. So yeah, a lot of that stuff, I'm like, we're just controlling what the mycelium looks like on the plate. We're not, assuming we have a monoculture. We're not changing the two nuclei that exist in this mycelium. So I have not been convinced in my cultivation practice yet that do or die, I have to have all rhizomorphic plates, or my grows suck. I'm not there, man. I'm not there. I don't buy it.
I try not to be either, but I know if I have a choice and I'm looking at a shelf that's got
Oh,
20 plates on and I'm going to
yeah.
make 4 or 5 bags of spawn, I'm probably going to pick the ones
Yes.
that are rhizomorphic. I hate to do it, but it's like, yeah, we've been like
Yeah, Ed,
trained.
when you're at the bar, you're gonna pick the rhizomorphic women. That's how it is. I get it. You're looking for the sexiest growth. I get it. I understand. Yes.
See, there you go. Somebody needs to do some like psychological thing about like why do men prefer rhizomorphics mycelium? Like, do they look more fertile? Do they look like they can produce more mushrooms?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. If I can get it, I love rhizomorphic growth. It is attractive to look at on the plate. I like fast growing mycelium for sure, and that is rhizomorphic mycelium. But I also don't think that I have a failed culture if I don't have it.
It's crazy, dude. I know. Okay, so that Mel IND that I've had that culture for probably 3 or 4 years. It's like a Melmac IND, whatever the hell it is. And it's a beautiful mushroom. And I had this culture and it looked like absolute shit for like the last 3 years. And I was like that close to just being like, fuck that, I'm throwing it away. And then I switched to the gel and gum and it still looked like shit. But by the third time I transferred it, it's beautiful. And it grew a
Yes.
bunch of beautiful mushrooms. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it wouldn't have grown beautiful mushrooms before when it was
Right.
this like tomentose pile of shit that I was
Yep.
like that close to throwing away. Like you said, it's the same exact genotype. Nothing
Yep.
has happened.
Yep.
I mean, maybe some mitochondrial, whatever, fucking blah, blah, cytoplasmic
Yeah.
stuff. That's what I'm kind of fascinated in now is this. And I've been reading a bit about it. Is what's happening in these like mitochondria when they're adapting and this whole concept of like enzyme blindness. I asked Andrew
Right.
about that, the Mossy Creek guy, and I was like, Andrew, can you like tell me what exactly you mean by enzyme blindness? And he was like, oh well, I don't know, like, and I don't even know what people like when people say senescence. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean senescence? Like,
Yep.
what is your definition of senescence? It's like, it's a really hard question for people to ask and answer.
Yeah, I know it exists for some fungal species, but I don't believe it's really a problem for cubensis, to be honest. But
Nah, I don't think it's a problem really as much as people like to maybe make it a problem because maybe, like you said, there's this kind of like preference for rhizomorphic growth. So it's like a lot of products, they create a problem. Like, oh, you're like, you've been having sex with the same woman for 30 years and your dick doesn't get hard anymore? Like,
it's because
wow.
your plates are all tomentose.
I know, yeah, you're like,
Gotta
You
get
mean the
some of those
same one?
rhizomorphs. You need a rhizomorphic plate.
Exactly,
Yeah,
man.
that's what it is.
Wow.
Ed, right there.
It's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. You're hungover and your dick's not rock hard like when you were 18. Wow, for the same woman you've been having sex with for 30 years.
It's penile.
You got a problem.
It's penile senescence. Yep,
Yes,
that's all it is. Yes. Now, I'm going to go back here in the comments because I thought this was worth pointing out.
Some crazy
Where
people
is it
talking.
here? Here we go. Michael Mama said, hey, grab those fluffy gals sometimes. Don't discriminate. Yeah, I'm with you. But then here we go. They said the most beautiful gnats grow from the fluffies. And I'm going to agree with you about that. And I'm going to agree with you that sometimes I'll have like two sectors and one is very attractive in my mind and one seems weak. But for shits and giggles, I have isolated them both, expanded them out onto grain and grown them. And very often the sexier culture underperformed the one that I thought looked like garbage. Now, it's all anecdotal, but I'm inclined to think half the times when we're isolating for rhizomorphic growth, we might be tossing out ugly portions of the culture that might have some cool shit in them. Like before we get to monoculture status, we are literally just using like a human aesthetic based on nothing more than rhizomorphic good, tomentose bad, even though we've already been explained to ourselves that tomentose means they're happy and rhizomorphic means it's looking for food or just innately aggressive. Who knows what we've thrown out? Who knows how many cool things we've thrown out because we thought it didn't look good on the plate. Dave Wombat doesn't do that.
I think
he takes the uglies and plays with those. Yeah.
It's the looking good on the plate thing is that we overemphasize because like a lot of people don't like when you put your plates in a spawn bag or whatever culture in a spawn bag, they kind of lose all that morphology anyways.
Oh,
Like
how
when you're
many of you
making
had
spawn.
that are not rhizomorphic on the plate,
Yeah.
and the minute they go in the grain, then they're beautifully rhizomorphic, or vice versa? Happens all the time. Sure, it does happen that you have something aggressive on the plate, then it's also aggressive on the grain, but I've seen the other many, many times for many different cultigens. Yeah.
I think it probably goes back to a lot of marketing, people trying to sell stuff like
Yeah, of course.
super rope
Yeah.
thrower plate.
Of
Like,
course.
look at how beautiful
Yes.
it's going to be, and you're going to grow better mushrooms. And I mean, it's the same thing with fashion and cosmetics and
Yeah.
and creating a problem that you didn't know you have, like, or you have anxiety when you speak in public. Like, yes, you should. That's
You should.
completely normal.
Yes.
You don't need to take medicine for that. It's fight or
Yes.
flight, adrenaline. It's a good thing. You should feel emotions.
Right.
Well, you shouldn't.
It means you work.
Yes.
It
It means
literally
you're
means
ter-
you
if, you,
work.
if you're terrified of failing, it probably means you're going to work harder to do a better job.
Yeah. Yeah, man. When I was a trainer, I used to do some pretty big presentations. I think my biggest one was a Radio Shack national training. About 5,500 guys, mostly guys, some women, but Radio Shack was pretty much a bunch of nerdy dudes. And, I didn't usually get nervous, but I got nervous before going up there. And my buddy Ken, who was doing the training with me, he was like, yeah, man. He's like, you're only nervous because you care. And I was like, oh, there you go. If you don't get nervous, you're either a sociopath or you don't give a shit.
Yes.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. All this is about the psychology of the plate. Right? This is all human psychology of the plate dynamics.
That's the title for your book, man.
That's
your
my
new book.
next.
Psychology
I'm
of the
gonna
plate.
merge mycology with sociology, myco-sociology.
Just have some guy
Yes.
looking at his like two plates in the mirror. I don't know.
Yes.
Oh,
Which one should I run?
Oh, the red plate or the blue plate? I don't know. Oh shit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, all this stuff. I'm sorry, but you don't know till you run it. Right? If we're
Yeah.
gonna keep using women metaphors, right? I've dated women where I thought everything was going to be great romantically, and it wasn't. But I based that on how they looked, and it wasn't always true.
That,
And then
that like
other
never
people
ever
surprise
works.
you.
This is the
Yeah,
thing. Like
yeah,
anybody who's over the age of 30 or maybe 35 or 40 knows that
knows
that
that.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work ever.
It's almost like
Like
a guarantee that, yeah, it's almost inversely proportional. Yeah.
it's like that. I'm gonna get this like 3 or 4 years of happiness because the other 15 or 20 is just gonna be shit. Like it's gonna be
Yes.
utter shit.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
let me just be happy for now, but I know it's gonna be really, really bad later.
Yep. It's true. All right.
And
All right. Osmolarity, osmosis. We talked about that. I think one thing that it's interesting how you come at me with stuff and some of these things that you come at me to talk about, I'm like, oh no shit, I was just thinking about this too. I wonder why. And sometimes I can figure out why because something happened in the community or whatever, but then other times it's just totally random. And this next topic is definitely that. I have recently been thinking about my water. I'm on well water, but I'm not only on well water, but I have a water softener. We have extremely hard water and we have it cranked up to the highest setting. And I started saying, I'm not going to go buy like a sodium analyzer. I'm not going to do all that stuff. But I just said to myself, I wonder if my water's just a little too salty. I wonder if I should just run some distilled water. So I've been mixing my substrate with distilled water lately. And I got a sneaking suspicion or a feeling. It just seems like things are going a little bit better. That could totally be confirmation bias. The jury's still out. I'm going to keep running it. But that brings us to the next topic, which is talk about what we use in cultivation.
so one thing before I forget, if you do have hard water and you switch to gel and gum, you might want to make sure that you do the first few trial runs with distilled water,
Yeah.
because hard water will have a lot of magnesium and calcium in it. So that it's like such a small, like little tiny percent will really, really
Yep.
affect the gel.
Yep.
That's
Man, Tim, a tip of the cap. He moved from more like Detroit area to Lansing. And he had that exact problem. And it wasn't just for gel and gum plates. I believe it was for all his plates. We're just a little bit off because of the water. And he had to literally start, I think he used distilled water for a long time until he got something installed. So, yeah,
Yeah, the
it's
weed
true.
people talk about it a lot. Like what's so EC is like, so all of this kind of complicated osmosis and blah blah blah. People like weed people just call it EC. It's electrical conductivity.
Hmm.
So when I buy my Quar loose, it mostly it's for the weed growers here, and it has like the actual EC. I don't know what it's, some weird like electrical measurement, like so many volts per liter or something like that. And it's basically, so when you have more salt dissolved in a liquid like water, it's going to conduct electricity more. So it's the same that probably you probably heard back in high school, chemistry teachers like, oh, well, if you stand in distilled water, like and dropped a toaster in there, you wouldn't kill yourself because it's the ions in the water. You need an ion in the water to carry the electrical charge or whatever the electricity to flow. So, but the idea there is like it's not a good idea, right? Because your skin is covered with sweat and ions and salt stuff.
Right.
So as soon as you step in that distilled water, it's going to
Dude,
conduct
no
water.
dumbass chemistry teacher told me, hey, just fill your bathtub up with distilled water and try to kill yourself. I did not have that teacher in school.
Yeah, it was Mr. Hunt. He gave me all kinds of crazy ideas.
Oh
He was
my
like, "Yeah,
God.
just don't." I think he caught on that I wanted to like, well, basically be a cook for a while, and he was like, "Yeah, Ed, don't do this." Like, yes,
Yeah.
you can get saffron from the internet. Like, well, that was before the internet, but I was like, "Oh, there's all these sassafras trees that grow out in by near Trout Pond. I could get." Oh, I got a good story about trying to collect sassafras root. I almost died, literally, almost died, like trying to
Why?
collect sass. because I was on my way to becoming a MDMA chemist, it's like for a while.
Okay.
And then I realized that like this is probably not the route I want to go down. And it was, I was going to basically try to extract saffrol or isosaffrol from sassafras roots, which
Sure.
are quite in that part of Michigan, sassafras are like,
Oh yeah,
they
everywhere.
grow clonally and they're just everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were out ripping them out of the ground. And anyway, it's kind of a long story, but almost, I-94, right? We went from the end of the road, it teed off and it was parallel to I-94, and before we knew it we were through the ditch and on I-94, not the feeder road, but on the actual highway. And then next thing I know, I look up and like 5 feet away there's this semi going by at like 70 miles an hour. Yeah, it was like 3 foot, and we would have got T-boned by
Yikes.
like an 18 wheeler. It was like so fucking close. But
Wow.
anyway, I didn't, so that kind of squashed my my MDA ecstasy chemist, that kind of was like, yeah, maybe that was a sign I shouldn't really be doing this.
All right. Was Mr. Hunt's name Mike? Does
No,
somebody go to school with you or something, or did
no,
he know a different Mr. Hunt?
no,
Okay.
he's trying to be funny,
Okay.
Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I
Everybody's a
don't remember
comedian.
his name. Yeah, it's funny. They try to sneak him in all the time. It's like,
I was like, damn, did somebody go to high school with you or go to your
no,
high
it's
school?
it's
Damn.
like Bart Simpson.
Got it. Got it.
I need a young whatever, young boy or something. I forget.
I'm
No,
not
I don't
even
remember what
responding
his
to
first
that.
name was, but he used to encourage me, but also like warn me, like, Ed, don't do this. Same as my organic chemistry teacher. When I like start to ask, I'm like, what's reductive amination? And like, where can I buy like
And he
aluminum
was
hydride?
like, Ed,
Yeah,
what are you
no,
doing?
no. You
Yes.
shouldn't order sodium borohydride. The DEA
Yes.
watches that shit.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, Myco Dandy brought up a good point. If you're on municipal city water, like me, and you want to use MPG plus, distilled water is the way to go. Yes, it is
Oh,
because
man.
it's chlorinated. So you bring up a good point that we wanted to talk about, which is city water, fresh out of the tap, is got a bit of chlorine in it. So you got a lot of off gas. You can use city water, but you got a lot of off gas. So that, you'd have to leave it in a jug for a couple, I don't know exactly how long you'd have to leave it, but yeah, I had the
Like
same
a
problem for bonsai. I used to do bonsai and I would add mycorrhizal fungus for my Japanese black pines because they really don't thrive unless they have that mycorrhizae fungus growing, in conjunction with their root development. But I was feeding it city water, so I was paying all this money for this shit to augment my water with, and I was killing it with the city water. So I had to get a big rain barrel and have to
Oh,
off
that's what I was
gas all
gonna
of it. And
say.
yeah, yep,
Or if you're in a hurry, you could boil it for a little bit, or just
yep,
like heat it up. You don't need to really boil it, but yeah, you need to get that chlorine out of there.
yes, exactly.
I'm kind of lucky here. For some reason, they don't seem to chlorinate the water. But my buddy, I live about 20 miles outside of Bangkok. My buddy who lives more in the like heart of Bangkok, he said
Right.
the water is much more heavily chlorinated. Like he can smell it, but I don't smell it out here. I don't know why. Maybe it comes from the river or something.
Who
God knows.
knows? Yeah,
They might get it from the sky. I don't know. They might have a reservoir, big ass reservoir somewhere. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of I've been temporarily using distilled water for my agar. I've always used it for my agar, but now I'm using it for my substrate. But I think I'm gonna, and then I got Pheno Dreamers telling me, well, if you're gonna make one of these Pheno Dreamer tub setups, which I'm gonna, he's like, man, I've been running distilled water, and he's like, the filters never need to be cleaned ever if you're running distilled water. Yeah, I mean, there's no impurities to mess up the
Yeah.
things. So then I was like, well, shit, how much are one of these reverse osmosis things on Amazon? And man, you can get one for like $150. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty damn cheap. Now, I'm sure, every once in a while you got to replace the filters on them, but yeah, so we'll see. I haven't decided what to do.
Yeah, they're fairly cheap. Everybody here uses them, and I don't know why. I think a lot of people worry about the pipes, the old pipes, like the old pipes in the city. Maybe I reckon they're made out of iron, but maybe they're leaching out. They've been
Right.
in the ground for 100 years or whatever. I don't know. And I just stupid me. I just realized why I don't have chlorine in my water because I actually have a reservoir like a tank. So
Oh
here,
yeah.
because the power goes on and off sporadically, everybody's got like a tank. So I've got like probably a 600-liter tank in my kitchen.
Oh, okay.
That's where I get my water from. So it sits in that tank for probably 3 or 4 days before it ever comes out my spigot. So yeah,
Yep.
that's
You
why
got one of them rural tanks
yeah,
and spigots. Yep.
pretty much, yeah.
That will do it.
I think they
Yeah.
do that because, yeah, it's just the electricity goes on and off sometimes, and
Yeah.
still neat. It's nice if you have water.
Yeah, now of course, I mean, so if your water systems, if you got well water and you're on a water softener, your hose bibs, they bypass the water softener because otherwise you fuck up your lawn. But it's a pain in the ass. I'm trying to come up with a way of just cleaning everything. How do I just make everything cleaner, better? Yes, all that stuff. So
I think
that's
that's
where
it.
I'm
The
at.
RO water. Yeah, a lot of the weed growers they use it. The indoor people they are also that Mr. Grow It guy, and they're always talking about our RO water because they're always checking their pH and their EC and all this shit. So it's better to
Yep.
start from a baseline where it's pretty much zero.
Yep. That's what we got to do. We just got to do all the things because even though we're all growing mushrooms just fine, we got to introduce new ideas, new things to make it more complicated because we just are so excited about cultivation that we can't stop changing and affecting a good thing. So speaking of that, talk to me about colchicine.
Oh, I don't know. I hope somebody else. Maybe you're the medical guy. So what do they use colchicine for gout, right?
For gout, yeah.
Yeah, and there's something else they use it for also. Well, they you can't buy pure colchicine anymore because I think people were like poisoning each other with it. And
Yeah,
so I
there's a warning like when we handle it, we're literally not supposed to touch the pill. Yeah.
oh even the pills. Okay, yeah, because the pure powder it's like a ridiculously small
Yeah.
amount that will like kill you, and it's one of those things like
Yeah.
they have a hard time like a toxicity or toxicology test. Like they have a hard time finding it. So if it's one of those things you die from some weird, I don't know, you have a heart attack and then the coroner doesn't know like why you died. You just died
Yep.
and they can't find it and it's like, oh. So yeah, I think I can only get these tiny tiny little pills and so it starts for me it started with the orchid people. I
Okay.
was reading some stuff about the orchids and nepenthes. The pitcher plants. You ever
Yeah.
see those in the bog? Yeah, the pitcher plants. Like those plants, for some reason, are really, really like. There's a lot of tissue culture people that grow them. I reckon because maybe they don't really produce flowers. I don't know if they do or not, but anyway, they're hard to grow with from seed. And
Okay.
so the where a lot of the literature is for making polyploids comes from the nepenthes and the orchid and some of those plant tissue culture people. Because what you're trying to do is essentially they have kind of the same problem as us is that like if you've got like an enigma blob, like how do you get a new version of enigma? Because they're growing all this stuff clonally in tissue culture. So they're just trying to introduce some diversity. And one of the ways to do that is to make polyploids. So if you have a diploid plant cell, like 2N, so ours are dicaryons, right? N plus N. But
Right.
if you
Right.
in
And then
plant cells, they'll fuse to be 2N. And so if you can take that 2N nucleus and make another 2N nucleus, and especially if you can take those and then like do a DDK, and
right.
then you can breed them together, and you can somehow get these like cultigens that you wouldn't be able to get able to breed basically by themselves because they don't make pollen, they don't make seeds.
Right.
Things like orchids, which are notoriously difficult to get to hybridize or whatever breed with each other, like techniques like this are kind of like attractive to those people that do that kind of stuff because they're trying to make new varieties of
Yeah.
orchids or whatever. And so if they can do that, if they can get that new orchid, that's going to be next year's Valentine's Day orchid or whatever, they're going to make a buttload of money. And they're
And
always
go
trying to do.
down in orchid
Yes,
infamy.
exactly. They'll have it'll be like the
Name
Edward.
one orchid breeder in the history of humanity, Ed. I dare you.
I don't know their names, but one of my Chinese
teasing.
students,
I'm
one of my
teasing.
Chinese students, he said his dad. So it's kind of like I was really having a long chat with him one day about like how people were naming stuff and how it was kind of like,
Yeah.
and he was he's like, my dad used to be really rich, but some asshole stole his orchid. like somebody took his new orchid that he had created and like, well, you've heard about like the tulip fever and stuff
Oh
back
yeah.
in yeah, like that kind of shit. Like these dudes were like selling tulip bulbs for like $1 million. And it's this kind of crazy shit that like it's like the stock market, you know? It's like woo, woo, like there's these.
Right.
But yeah, you
Yeah.
could if you get that new orchid or if you get that like 15% cubensis, man, like you go down in history.
In
So yeah,
history.
you could maybe
Yes.
yeah, the history is not, I don't know, maybe for the next 2 years or maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this the idea is I was just like, let me just throw some of the culture scene on top of my. So I was doing transfers and I just got some. I put a bunch of pills in a bottle like this and I just like put some hot water in it and tried to like get it dissolved and then I was dropping it on top of my little transfer pieces. Problem is to get a polyploid, to verify a polyploid, you need to look at the nuclei, which means you have to stain the nuclei.
Right.
Nuclear staining's a pain in the ass. You got to use like these nasty chemicals like acetylcarmine and there's different ways to do it, or DAPI if you're going to do it with like a fluorescent microscope, and there's just different ways to stain nuclei. So I kind of gave up on it because I'm like, I'm not going to start. I just do squash mounts and I look for clamps. But if you're going to start staining nuclei to look for whether it's an N plus an N plus an N plus an N or something like that, it'll be a pain in the ass. It's really hard. The nuclei are actually quite tiny, and the whole procedure for staining a microscope slide is going to take you 20 or 30 minutes for like one slide. Whereas squash mount, that takes you like 30 seconds.
Right.
But a lot of the plants we
one
use
day when all our mushrooms suck and we're desperate,
we'll start making.
then we're gonna start staining our nuclei and using colchicine and trying to create polyploids and yep.
People are always looking for the new thing, man. You know that the whole DDK thing. I mean, that's like still going on. That's like raging in the gourmet world. People are just like so excited about that. And
I'm waiting to see people do it.
I know. I'm still
Besides
begging them to
wanna-
just like get some goddamn spores. Like, this is like just get some spores, man. There's a really, really, really easy way to make a monocaryon. It's called a fucking spore.
Yep.
It's like Mother Nature figured this shit out like a couple million years ago.
Yep. Yes.
Like
100%. Yeah. I mean, great. Anybody that's that passionate about making it complicated and doing weird stuff, go for it. Great, cool, awesome. And when you figure it out, tell us about it. Tell us what you figured out. Yep. That's the part I keep waiting for. So, yep.
Yeah.
Shout out to anybody, doing their thing. I'm all about that. Do your thing. I'm not trying to stop anybody from doing their thing. But if you're a part of the community, do your thing for the benefit of the community.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing with like the polyacrylate post I made. Some guy immediately was like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years." And I asked him, I'm like, "Oh, can you share your results?"
No.
Didn't reply. Yeah. It's like, well, dude, if you're so proud of what you've been doing for 20 years, then fucking share it. It's like, well, like, I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. If you're just like, "Oh yeah, I did that."
I found the fountain of youth and I'm not showing anybody.
I know. Yeah, what is your secret gonna make you rich or something? Is that how
you get to live forever and watch everybody else die over and over and over again? Congratulations, you win. Yep. Yeah, man. I don't know. This isn't just like the mountain biking community for me. This isn't just like a drag racing community. This is like a special, unique community. This is people who are compelled to try psychedelics, who love psychedelics, who are psychonauts, who believe that there is a huge spiritual and personal value that comes from altering your consciousness and exploring the ways this stuff can be used to integrate healing and all this stuff. It's not a fucking hobby, even though we constantly say this is my cultivation hobby, right? It is important. And so, yeah, I'm just like, man, It's like what was the name of the dude that came up with the polio vaccine?
Salk.
Salk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, if polio was a problem today, you know, the Elon Musk would come up. He'd hire a bunch of people and he'd find the cure and get the vaccine, and someone would become a trillionaire off of it. But this guy back in the day was a real fucking scientist, man. He said, "I'm not here to get rich. I'm here to help the fucking world." That's science at its best. But that's pretty much gone now. Now it's all commodified. Everything's driven by money.
Yeah,
It really
it's
is.
funny. Yeah, and I think a lot of the people that are into that, like, wow, I found out this new secret, like I'm gonna keep it to myself. They don't really realize that other people have probably already done it.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of new innovations that somebody hasn't tried. I mean, if it is something so brand new that nobody else has ever tried it, like, yeah, maybe you could keep that to yourself if it was like really, really, really like so unique. But come on, I mean, I think people overestimate
But bro,
their own
if you keep if you murder your neighbor and you don't want anybody to know, then what do? You shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Who knows, guys? I might have invented the greatest thing that ever happened to cubes, but I'm hiding it from you. And I'm not doing a post going, this little thing, and then everybody that asks me about it, I go, I'm not telling. Nope, I'm just keeping it truly to myself, and you guys will never know. I'll die with that secret, because no one deserves it but me, because I'm special. I mean, what's going through some of these people's minds? I don't know. Yo, cool, make a buck, but you know,
I think it
then
goes
just
back.
shut up and make a buck and don't talk about it.
Maybe they had too many siblings or something. They were like competing too much. They didn't get enough love from their parents.
I don't know, man. Yeah. But I'm also not into I'm not obsessed with finding a new mushroom. It's not like what drives me to go out in the woods. I just like going out in the woods. I've potentially, one of the very first specimens I sent Kyle Cannon was the first Ohio record, or no, I'm sorry, it was the first record in GenBank ever. It could just be something that isn't in GenBank yet, for sure, but it could be a brand new mushroom. And I didn't do 1,400 posts about it. I don't care. I don't care. If I see it again and we keep finding it and then maybe we can do something with it, cool, great, awesome. But like,
You should totally tell that to the fluffy girls at the bar on Friday. Be like, you know what? I got the first iNaturalist recording of I don't know, like Boletus.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna make T-shirts. It's just gonna say Mycena provisional name Geeky Eye.
Man. Dude, that's bound to get them wet, man.
That's gonna do it. Yep.
Wet and fluffy. That's how I like them.
That is gonna do it. Yep. Man.
I like my plates like I like my women, wet and fluffy.
I thought you were gonna say flat and dry, but okay. It's okay. I don't like a wet plate.
With the with minimal like blemishes and like holes and
There you go.
visible lesions.
Yeah. Man, I don't know about you, but I'm even just done. Like, I don't know, in the beginning, right? There's just the ways that the cultivation hobby, game, activity, whatever you want to call it, the things that are fun about it changes over time. In the beginning, you're like, oh my God, food coloring. And then you're like, oh my God, sparkles in my agar. And then you're like, the first plate you grow out with those sparkles, you're like, why the fuck did I do this?
Yes.
It doesn't even make any sense. It's actually annoying to look at the mycelium on.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And I would say the only instinct over time I have with plates is, how can I get them clearer? I just want them clearer. I want no impurities. I want it as clear as possible. But like I just feel like making them green this time. Those instincts are gone, man. Like, that does not do it for me anymore.
No, I just do it to keep the batches separate. Like if I get like a bad batch, which occasionally my one pressure cooker, I don't know why it doesn't seal right sometimes. So if I have the color in there, I know they're all some one batch. So if I see like, oh, some of the like purple ones starting to go bad, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta check the other purple ones. Some
Yeah.
bacteria floating around in there. That's the only reason.
I will do it if I'm switching my like sugar source.
Yeah.
I will do a different color, but I'm like real light about it. But for those reasons to differentiate, yeah, yeah, different batches and stuff for sure.
You're not making swirls and stuff in there, like pouring too.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Some
Uh,
people like sparkly stuff.
I get it. It's fun. I don't know. I saw some posts this week. And of course, my first thought was, holy shit, I see a post that has photographic evidence of mushroom cultivation. How the hell did this get by Meta? But
Oh yeah, I got kicked off Instagram 3 times in the last month. And then like
I'm
I
about to be
appeal.
off of everything. Yeah, I keep, man, when everybody started going, man, I cleaned my shit up to the nth degree. And still got a couple hits because like I had reposted somebody's post, and then I think I like reposted a brown treasure thing that had a picture of some a bag of fruit in it, and of course there was no word saying what it was, but it just looked like cubes. So they got me on that. They got me on just like some random shit that they had no right in taking down. But now they're back at it. They're back at it. I'm getting hit for the most benign posts, so it's only a matter of time. Once you hit the algorithm, it's
Yeah,
watching,
that's what,
guys. It's
that's what
watching.
I was thinking. Because yeah, the last post it was just like text. It was all text.
Yeah,
I think it was about cleaning up plates or something, and there wasn't even a picture. It was just like maybe I think I had my logo or something on there.
yep.
I don't know. Maybe it goes back, but all then and then the next day they'll send me a thing that says, "Oh, we're sorry, we accidentally disabled your account." Like, how do you accidentally do the same thing 3 times?
Well,
That
'cause we
AI was
let our
supposed to be
AI do it.
smart.
It will be. It will be. It's like a child right now, Ed. It will get smart, and that's the problem. I was talking to somebody else this week. They're like, "Oh yeah, once this AI thing blows over on Facebook," and I go, "Buddy, I hate to break it to you, but the AI is dumb. So sure, it's making some mistakes here and there, but the ultimate thing it's being trained to do is to get rid of us. It's not being trained to differentiate between the scammer drug dealers and the home cultivators. It's trying to utterly eliminate any discussion of this stuff whatsoever. So we're all on borrowed time. I was just talking to PGT. He just had his Instagram account shut down. He had well over 100,000 people. I think 150,000 people or something absurd like that. He's gone permanently. His main account, his backup account, he's done. He said, you know what? Consistently, the only two places I've been able to do what I do without any issues has been Discord and Reddit, so that's where I'm staying. So shout out to PGT. I know Rhizomorph 2.0, who I used to just call Rhizomorph, but because of all this bullshit now, now I call him Rhizomorph 2.0. He's going through the same thing. I know Miss Mush SoCal I think she got her account shut down for a minute and now it's back. But again, anybody that got hit and got it back, I mean, you got it. You in Catholic school now. You're being watched, and you got to be utterly on your best behavior. And even then, they're just waiting for a reason. So, yeah, man, get on the Discord. Hop back into that cesspool that is Reddit. The shroomery's about to have a boom, guys. All them little shroomery guys. You're about to have an influx of people to yell at and make fun of. Get ready.
I'm gonna get kicked off of there for different reasons.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep.
Let's move off into the woods.
What can you do?
Let's move off in the woods, eat 20 grams a day. I'll become like a monk or some shit.
Oh, my God. Yes.
No, I won't. I don't think they
Yeah, dude, I'm just waiting. Your live streams will get real interesting. They will get real interesting for sure. Yeah, man. The it's I was talking to somebody today, and I was like, and by the way, there are people that have messaged me that have said stuff like, "Oh, come on, buddy, stop talking about you living in Los Angeles." Like I lied about 16 years of my life or something. So anyway, this one's for you, buddy. Kiss my ass. Like, wait, what was I even talking about? No, I don't even remember shit.
Monks living in the forest, being an ascetic monk, eating 10 grams a day.
God damn it. Me being pissed off at that
You need
guy
to eat more
ruined it
lion's
for me.
mane. Gotta eat
Oh yeah,
lion's mane.
total cure for ADHD, dude. Total cure.
It's the new
It
miracle
helps.
drug. Does it?
helps.
Yeah, there's a
helps,
dude. There's
sure.
a mushroom
Yeah,
farm
helps a
here, and
little
they're
bit.
really, really pushing it now. Like every other thing on my Facebook is about lion's mane and their magic pills.
Yeah. It's all magic, Ed.
Yeah.
Even the not magic ones are magic. Yeah.
I mean, you can always eat more mushrooms, I think, but I don't know. The price of some of these capsules and stuff they sell, it's like, wow, like, I don't know. That seems like a lot of money. Like, these dudes are eating like 10 or 20 bucks of capsules a day. It's like, I don't know. Is it really like worth that?
Man, all I know is all these people that, pop like $70 worth of supplements in their mouth every
Yeah.
morning. I had to take a class from a licensed nutritionist, and she harped endlessly in this class about how no one should take vitamins, no one should take supplements, that our bodies are designed to source these nutrients from food. And every time we're artificially ingesting them, odds are almost all of it is just being rapidly metabolized and excreted from the body. But hey, I mean, how big is the supplement industry? I don't know. It's pretty freaking massive. I do know
Yeah,
that
it's huge.
lion's mane makes me feel good. I know chaga makes me feel good. So I'm not saying the stuff doesn't work. I think the stuff does work, but I think we also, I don't know, lately, maybe it's because just watching so many people show their true colors lately of like, oh, I thought you cared about this community. Oh, but then why are you behaving like X, Y, and Z? That's showing me what you actually cared about was money. And now that there's no money, you know, oh. So that's just got me being like, man, there were a lot of people in here riding a hype train because it made them money. Not because they even believed it. Just made them money. So ride the hype
Man,
train.
dude, living over here for 20 years, dude, you just see that like money, it makes me it makes you kind of pessimistic at first, but then when you accept it and realize that that's just the way it is and the way it's always been and the way it's always will be. Like there's
Yep.
very little that people do in life that isn't either selfish or in some way driven by money or the potential gain of money.
Yep.
It's all, I mean, everything from, relationships to, what you do for work and what your job is. It's all about money. And that's what I noticed. It's like even with a lot of the younger guys that I meet, they're kind of sad and depressed because they don't have money. And they see that and they're like, wow, the only way for me to be happy is to get money. And if they don't see that happening in the short term, like the next 5 to 10 years, I think it just drives them into this like hole of depression.
Yeah.
And then they just don't know what to do. And it almost like they get this, like they're defeated. They're just like kind of give up. And they're
Yep.
just like, oh, like I'm never going to succeed. Like, I don't know if I want a girlfriend or a wife, I better have money. I better have a car. I better have, a house and picket fence and all this like stuff. But over here, like they're really like, it's kind of like people are more obvious about it. Like it's really like money gets you things. Like
Money,
and they're just
literally, that is what money gets you. Yes.
yes, I mean it sounds
Yeah.
stupid to say
Yeah.
it, but like you can get things with money. But they're not necessarily the things that make you happy or gonna make you happy.
Correct.
But it does get you things that you think will make you happy.
Not having
And
money can definitely make you miserable. I mean, they've done studies on this, and basically, if you can't meet your basic needs, a lack of money definitely contributes to your sadness, your depression, your unhappiness. But they also conclusively proved that once you make enough money to just meet all your basic needs and you're essentially comfortable, that any amount of money you make past that absolutely 100% does not make you happier. So like Elon Musk, right? The endogenous chemicals in his brain that generate all his human emotions, he has the same ones that I do. I mean, maybe he's got a little bit different ones. I know he's neurodivergent in a way that I'm not. So those neurochemicals work a little bit differently than they do for me. But essentially, right, we're all the same species. We have the same polypharmacies in our brains doing the same things. I have the same ciliary bodies in my retinal cells that interpret light and then transfer that through an optic nerve into my brain. So our human experience is all the same. So I can be broke and living in the Amazon jungle, and I can have nothing but literally a pot to piss in, and I can sit around eating fish and Brazil nuts all day, and I'm not going to be any happier or sadder than Jeff Bezos is going to be. And anybody that thinks that that's not a true statement got some shit to figure out. We all work the same way, man. If I pinch you, Ed, that feels basically the same as if you pinch me, because we all work the same. So yeah, that's my little statement about that. But that's not what
tricked us.
Yeah, they've tricked us
into thinking that like we need all this stuff to make us happy. Like you said, when you've got your basic meds, what is that? Maslow's pyramid or whatever.
An invented pyramid that doesn't exist, but yes, it's used to describe this idea, right? That we have basic needs. Yeah, we do.
I don't really know. I can barely remember the name of it, but I know there's some people came up with the basic need idea, that food, water, shelter, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once that, it's all kind of like icing on the cake, and like, but it doesn't really make you that much happier.
Yep.
I don't know. You got a better car, you got a better house. What do you do in your house? You know, you sleep, eat, and shit. Like, it's like, what else do you
everybody else?
Yeah. Like these people that get these giant houses, like they'll come over here and out in the middle of a rice field, they'll build this house on like 2 acres of land, and it's just got marble floors, and everybody's looking at them like, wow, you're dumb. Like, you just wasted a whole shitload of money. Like, why did you do that? Are you happier now?
Yeah.
Like, and then these guys sit by themselves at, Friday night, midnight, sitting in this big ass house by themselves. It's like, what's the point?
Bro, man, I'm telling you. So before I moved to LA, for some reason, I used to have this running joke where when I was with my friends, I would just say things like, I wonder if like Tom Hanks is taking a shit right now. I just like say these like random things about celebrities and famous people just to like try to just wonder if they're doing really human things. Like, I wonder if Madonna's picking her nose right now. I bet she's picking her nose right now. I used to say all this stuff. And then I remember the first time we had a movie set up with Halle Berry, and we were in writers meetings with her for like 2 weeks. And I think, I don't know, the second day, she was like having, I don't want to say too much and tell too much, but she was like having some GI problems, and she was talking about that. And I'm just in my head, I couldn't stop laughing to myself, because I'm like, there it is. There it is. I finally got to see like a celebrity just being a human being, because they all are. They're all just people. They're just all people. No one's special. Taylor Swift is not a better person than you. She's really not. She's not a better person than me. I'm not a better person than her. We're all just a bunch of fucking monkeys on a fucking rock in the middle of outer space. That's it. It's not too exciting. But boy, oh boy, when we're young, we definitely, regardless of what our culture tells us, when you're young and you're a man, the ambition, you're like, it's all tied into ambition and success and proving something and all that stuff. And so what you're talking about, these guys that just feel like they missed the boat, and then they just implode on themselves, man. Yeah, they just completely implode. It's sad.
Yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for him, to be honest, because I don't really see that situation getting any better in the next 2 decades.
No.
It's and I mean, what we idolize and what people want to be, and I don't know, I don't know. I don't know how to change it. That's why I'm pretty happy with
Yeah.
my life right now. But it's like I don't know. I worry about other people sometimes, and I also sometimes I have to suppress my own. Like I feel like I don't want to tell anybody about how like kind of nice things are when you don't value that type of stuff. Like at like I drive a little shitty 125 moped, but I got people all the time ask me like, why don't you buy a car? Why don't you buy a car? I'm like, I don't need a car. I live in a metropolitan city. I have Bolt and Grab. I can get on a bus. Like I can
Yeah.
walk or ride my motorcycle.
Right.
But guys, like a 25 to 30-year-old guy, that is the thing. They need to buy a car. And I'm like, why the fuck do I need a car? Like, can you listen to yourself? Like, I don't need a car. Why do you think I need a car? Like, what is wrong with you? Stop
Ed,
trying to convince me that I need a car.
just be like me, Ed. Don't make
Oh,
me question my life decisions.
that's it. That's it. Exactly.
Don't make me question my life decisions. I mean, on one level, I'm watching a lot of things transpire in the world right now, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, man, all this old school, like not, we're in like a postmodern era now, but like all the modernism, all the like, this is our system for society. This is how it goes. The dad goes to work, the wife stays at home, just the like very structured, regimented societal roles and expectations and all that. It does make the system work, assuming you're willing to just ignore the fact that there's going to be a big segment of your population, at least a significant segment, that's never going to fit into that mold. But it does make your society function well. I mean, everybody following the same goals of the white picket fence and this and that, it definitely makes things go smoothly. But I think we've gone, at least in America, beyond the point of that ever being a reality. Just this false idea that we're gonna get something back that we had. No, man, things are always moving forward. It's always new. It's always different. And I am definitely worried about what the next 20, 30 years look like, which is why I'm here talking about mushrooms,
Yeah.
because we need them. We need them.
But I think also we get somebody, I listen to a lot of this dumb stuff, but somebody was like, so, don't live your life in fear. Like a lot of people live in fear of like change and fear of something like going wrong or fear. I mean, it's good to have some sort of like plan maybe, but I don't know, not to the point where it like paralyzes you to the point where you don't do anything about it.
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna, I don't know, there's like, there's a spectrum of people. Then there's like people that just give up completely. And then there's, I guess you gotta have every kind.
Yeah, when I was growing up, those people, the kind that people had given up, we didn't really have homeless people in our town, but we had the people that like only had pets. Like they didn't really have friends. They didn't talk to anybody, but they had like, I don't know, 40 cats or 13 birds or something like that. And I love those people, but those people had obviously given up on humanity a long time ago. They're like, I like things that are alive that don't talk to me. As I get older, I understand them more and more. Yeah.
That's what my mushrooms don't talk to me normally.
Hold on, I just saw this. Shout out to Michael Allen. He goes, off-grid homestead with 50 pets should be nice. All right, Michael Allen, you're proving my point. You're trying to live that isolationist dream right there. Yes. It's true. It's hard to, I mean, man, I'm in a marriage. Marriage is hard. Nobody ever in my upbringing ever properly explained to me how much work a successful marriage would be. It's like essentially, it's a great challenge. It is not easy. And depending upon who you're with, it can be radically more difficult or maybe just a little bit easier. But there's nobody on earth in a relationship that goes, it's effortless. There's no effort here. I found my perfect person and everything is amazing. It doesn't exist, man.
Yeah, luckily I grew up in a white trash neighborhood that was like had like couples beating the shit out of each other in the street. So I was like, yeah, that looks kind of fucked. Like, let me not do that. Like, hey, that's my friend, my best friend's dad fucking slapping his wife, and oh wait, that's because she just hit him with a fucking stick.
Yeah.
It's all happening, like, and like it was like
Yep.
entertainment, it's like Tuesday night, guys had maybe a few too many beers. Next thing you know, they're out in the front yard swinging on each other. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, let me not do that.
That's what I am not trying to grow up and achieve. Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody I know was married at least once. Most of the people I know were married multiple times. I was the best man in two friends' weddings. And yeah, they didn't work out, as you would imagine. It's like, let me
Yeah.
not do that. That was good
Yeah.
go. Good go. And yeah, even then, if you got money, my buddy from well, it's high school, and then he married his girl after college, and yeah, they didn't have any problem with money. Wouldn't think they had the cars and the houses, but it just wasn't enough money. When you get to a certain level and like you need more money. Like, what do people with money? They want more money. Like,
Yep.
they always want more and more and more, and so it's like
We
when that's
can't be comfortable enough, Ed.
yeah, I know. It's like, why don't you just
It's like when you're
know.
broke and you're sleeping on like a $25 Craigslist mattress, and then you get a new job, and then you're like, oh, I can go buy a $200 mattress, and then you get another job, and now you can buy a $500 mattress, and then you become a lawyer, and now you can buy a $5,000 mattress, and you're still not comfortable enough. You're never comfortable enough. Oh, I remember now what I was going on the Los Angeles thing about. So I worked in Hollywood for 8 years. I worked on 3 studio lots. I was in a bunch of meetings. I developed, Hollywood movies and stuff like that. I saw people stab each other in the back. I saw people be nasty. I actually left Hollywood because I got to a point where it was becoming more and more clear that because I didn't have nepotistic connections in Hollywood and I wasn't filthy rich, there was really only one strategy for me to get to the highest levels. And that was by being cunning and deceptive and nasty and a backstabber. Because I started watching some of my peers do it. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm out of here. This is not what I want to do. I thought this was about creating and telling stories and blah, 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 blah. And I got out. But I'm going to tell you right now, dude, I thought I was never in my life going to see people be any crazier and more shockingly audacious than they were in Hollywood. And then I mushroom community. And I'm telling you, man, I can't believe the stories I hear. I just can't. Transcendental love, exactly. Yep, I was not willing to do that either. So, yep, exactly.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it 3 weeks ago, and she's relatively new to the community too, and I didn't want to scare her or anything, but I'm like, I think you should be prepared. Like, she wanted to get into I don't know, maybe she still does, unless I scared the shit out of her. She wants to get into the podcasting kind of thing and all that, and I'm like, man, you gotta be really, really ready for all of this shit. Like,
Yep.
this is not the happy-go-lucky. This ain't a bunch of hippies like who just want to sit around and talk about how to grow mushroom. Now, these are people with like they want to get rich,
Yep. Yeah.
and a lot of it's about money. And there's relatively few people. I mean, everybody's selfish. We're like animals.
Yep.
Like, I was watching a documentary the other day. That there was like about some kind of monkeys, lemurs, or some shit. And you got the alpha male, and all the young monkeys are trying to basically kill him, so that they
Always,
can
yeah.
like fuck
Yeah.
his females. And it's
Right.
like, wow, it's like. It's just like, it's scary when you watch like primates and stuff. It's like, Jesus, that's just like humans.
That's
Like,
well,
we're
it's
basically
as
just
if we're
like,
primates. Yes.
no, you would think we're somehow related or
It's
something.
as if they are
I
our
know.
closest
It's
relative.
so funny. Yeah, and we think we're so special. I don't know. Like, it's like we're not very special. I don't know.
I mean, we
Tough.
just have the one trick of just being radically more intelligent than every other organism, at least in a whatever, I don't know, in a human defined sense of that word. But yeah.
There's
I mean, shit, man.
millions and millions of years of evolution. It's kind of like the way we're changing our diet now in the last 50 years. Like our bodies are not designed
Right.
to be eating fucking bread. Like,
Yeah.
and
Or
like
like the
Twinkies and shit.
self-centeredness. If you're in a survival mode in the jungle, being self-centered is a brilliant thing to be. Keeps you alive every day. But like now where we're at, or even just like I was talking to my wife about this a couple weeks ago, about how way back in the day, the man's one aptitude, which is strength, right, had an advantage. There was a reason to try to get you, a big strong man to ward off all the other horrible men that were trying to rape you or trying to steal your land or whatever, right? Having that strong man was important. And we're sort of living a context now where it's not. And so you see some of these men just like unraveling because they don't know how to adapt their sense of masculinity to it. And you're just like, look at this guy, that dude on YouTube that's just like on roids and it's like so jacked his freaking pecs are like touching his chin. And you're like, bro, why are you doing that shit? What's up?
I don't. One of my friends, he's 34, and he's talking about getting testosterone injections. And I'm like, dude, why? Do you have a medical condition? Like these dudes, they've
Well,
got.
first off, have you had it checked? Most of these people don't even get it checked to see if they're within a normal range. They just instantly ask for the prescription, and most of these doctors don't give a shit. They just give it to them.
Yeah, I think yep. I think he got it checked, and then they gave him some sort of thing like he was below average or whatever. So yeah, of course the doctor's gonna give him some scripts, for his injections. It's just not cheap, and it's just like, dude, really? I don't know if 34. I thought that's like shit old people did, but you also get those older retired guys over here who are like 60, and they're like way too jacked. They're like you said, the pecs are like their shoulders and their like quadriceps are like in the wrong place. They're like way up,
but they
too
can't
high.
touch their toes. Right.
Yeah. But they're like sagging, like the skin is hanging off these like muscles that are like all roided out and shit. But it's like you shouldn't look that young. Like your body looks weird. Like the skin doesn't match with your body.
Yeah.
And you're old. Like, why do you have really big like quadriceps? You're like 65 years old,
He's got to pick up his testosterone injection every day.
That's what they do, man, because they got hormones on like every street corner here for, whatever transition you're going through in life. They got all that shit for you.
Drugs in general. We are just a bunch of drug-loving monkeys, man.
Oh, no.
The way a human being loves them some drugs is just cannot be topped.
What is it you guys got now with the Ozempic or some shit like this? See,
Mounjaro?
I don't hear.
Are you talking about the weight loss?
Yeah, it's like a GLP, whatever they're called, glucose something, link protein or something, peptide, glucogen like peptide or something like that.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I saw some documentaries in Australia. There's like people are selling it as like a street drug, like the same dude you get your fentanyl from, you get your like fucking Ozempic or whatever the fuck it's called.
And on Thursdays, if you get the Ozempic with your weed gummies, he'll throw in a Starbucks. Like, all we do all day is drugs.
I know.
We get up and drink some drugs. We take all our supplements and all our pills. We work our job. We smoke our cigarettes. We come home. We eat dinner. Then we're smoking a little weed. I mean, we love drugs. End of story. Because right now, everything about our society, like you just got done saying, like our DNA doesn't match our lifestyle I should say our lifestyle is now out of whack with what our DNA is used to. And so we don't know what to do, man. That's why do anything with your hands, always going to make you happy. Cook dinner, actually make dinner, fix something, build something, grow something. All those things are old activities. Ancient activities will always make you feel better.
Yeah, that's funny. Like we're saying about the squeezing the substrate. I actually find that quite therapeutic when I
Yeah.
sit there for like an hour and squeeze. Like I'm not really in
Hmm.
a hurry. It's like, like I'll just put on some YouTube bullshit or some music and like just like squeeze substrate. And like I'm not in a hurry. I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. I can do this for an hour or two. And then it's quite relaxing. It's almost like meditating or like, whatever. It's just like,
Yep.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm playing with dirt. I
Yep.
got latex gloves on, but I'm playing with dirt. It's like kind of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Yep.
I think, miss out on things like that because of the world we live in. Where we're in houses and apartments and in cities and stuff, and like I don't know, like it might be good to get out there and play with dirt once in a while.
100%. Play with dirt. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to take your shoes off and walk around in the grass so you can ground yourself electrically, but yeah, it feels good to walk around in the grass with your bare feet. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I talk to Dr. Rick a lot, and every once in a while, I'll see some really stupid, bombastic claim by some pseudoscience or pseudo healthcare person online, and I'll send it to him. And I got a hunch that it's total bullshit, but I know he's going to have like the 15 scientific papers proving the guy's total bullshit. And sure enough, every time he'll just say one sentence, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, wow. You only have to rebut this person with this one statement, and it would completely make him look like a complete moron. But people don't care. People are, I mean, so to tie into what we were talking about earlier, people don't want to hear that supplements don't work. Even if that's the truth, they don't want to hear that. They enjoy buying the supplements. They enjoy thinking about vitamins and I'm taking this vitamin and this vitamin, and they like all that stuff. We just love putting pills in our mouth, dude. We just love that stuff. Hey, all you got to do to lose weight, stop eating food. Well, easier said than done. So pop a pill, take a shot, do all that stuff. Yep.
Is it that kind of like I don't know, people are competing with each other, so they just want to be. I don't quite understand it either.
Well, Ed, all you have to be is better than everyone else on the planet,
Uh,
and then you're happy. That's all you got to do. How many people are on the planet now? Or how many billion are we up to?
I think it's pushing 8 now. Yeah, I guess I never really had much of a competitive spirit. I never really wanted to be the best at anything. Maybe that's my problem.
Only 8.2 billion people.
Wow. Wow.
And if you're the best, then you'd have to be happy, right, Ed? If you were the best at everything, the smartest, the best looking, the fastest, the biggest car, the biggest everything, then you would, of course, certainly be happy. And so you only got to beat out 8.2 million people, and there you go, you got it. Or realize that paradigm, that lens through which you're trying to frame your happiness is probably going to keep you from ever fucking being happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and judging yourself based on other people, I think, is a very, very bad thing that people are constantly doing.
Yeah.
And it makes people jealous and envious, and they're like, I want to be better. Or I don't know. I don't compare myself to many people anymore, because what's the fucking point?
There's no
If
point.
you're in any criteria that you pick, there's always going to be somebody better than you. So
Everything.
I don't understand
Yeah.
what the goal is.
Man, so this is my one of my core philosophies on human existence is the ultimate conundrum, the ultimate problem with being a human being is we are intelligent enough to always know that it could be better. And so we always are envious and jealous constantly of those who have it better than us. But then we're also simultaneously smart enough to always know how much worse it could be. So we always live in fear. So, I mean, think about how many people you know who predominantly spend their lives mostly in a state of either envy or fear.
Yeah.
Almost all of us.
Probably everybody.
Yep. I mean, even the best of us is still struggling with this most days. You just can't help it. Yeah. Yep. Until you just don't give a fuck about anything. And then if you can get to that point, whether you move into the woods, whether you get 50 chickens, whatever weird ass shit you start doing, then maybe you can be kind of happy. But then the problem is if you think your happiness is going to come from isolating away from humanity, the problem is our DNA doesn't work that way. We do need to have human companionship. We need to connect with people. So it's a tough dilemma we're in as human beings. Not easy.
Yeah, I think I'm slowly working my way to not giving a fuck. Like it's taken a lot of years, but I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I'm kindly like almost getting there where I truly just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like probably by the time I'll die, that's about the time I'll perfect just not giving a fuck. And it's like,
Man.
yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
nice. I like it.
When you're 25 in a job interview and they ask you about your 5-year plan, I mean, you're ready to go and give them your 5-year plan. You can give them your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. I'm telling you right now, the next job interview I'm in where they ask me my 5-year plan, they are gonna not know what to fucking do with themselves when they hear what I tell them. I'm not getting the job.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe you can move over here. You know, most of the people that move over here, they stop giving a fuck too.
Yep.
Uh,
I don't know, man. I like Jalapa. There's a very good chance I will end up down there in my retirement. I'll just be wandering around looking for mushrooms until the day I die.
Oh yeah, long before I came to Thailand, I went to Mexico and way down in central and all the way we went over to the Yucatan Peninsula. And yeah, there was some of the towns we went through. I was like, man, I could probably live here.
Bro,
I was kind of like, do I really need to I want to live here now? Like it just seems so chill. And there's a couple, those small towns that got maybe 20,000 people in them, maybe less. And there's like a little town square and it's just like, wow, this seems so nice. And everybody's like broke as fuck, but they look so happy.
I can tell you right now, they're almost all happier than us. Now, I'm not talking about like the cartel towns and stuff like that, but your average, regular, not like cartel infested town is got full of people in pretty good moods. Yep. Unfortunately,
that could be your next life. It could be your. Who knows? Yeah, I think also they like people are like the people who kind of think like they have like one plan for their life, and if that plan changes, it kind of fucks them up too.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, my plan didn't go the way I thought it was gonna be, and so they look at it as like a failure. And I think people should look at it as failure, right? It's like in business, they say you pivot. Like, that didn't work out, and then you pivot.
I'm a pivoter, so I came to terms with that a long time ago. Yes, I'm very good at pivoting. I'm pivoting. Yes, and then the ADHD in me got me pivoting all the time. But when I meet people where they're like, I've taken care of people in the ER tell me about their jobs and all that. And, I was for 58 years, I did the same motherfucking thing. And I'm just sitting there going, man, I want to be that person because I know good. Like it's like, it's basic physics, right? Like work is a force in a given direction, right? It's like basic physics. So if your work is always applied in a given vector, then you get somewhere. Right? Like you have a direction, you have a forward momentum, and you end up somewhere. If every 5 to 8 years you're changing careers and changing your plans, you just like a mosquito buzzing around and you never get too far. So I'd love to be one of those people. I just don't work that way. I just can't be interested in something for 58 years. Not full time all the time, 40 hours a week. I have tried. I cannot. It's just how I work.
Yeah, it's the same way. I meet people that are on their pensions and have done that thing. They've worked for a company for 40 years, or maybe they were in the military or some kind of government job, and I don't know if they're that happy though. I always think about the day I'm laying on that deathbed, like when I'm laying in the hospital, or like a second before I get hit by that bus. Like, I'm just thinking, like, did I like, I don't know, did I do enough, Did I do enough things that, like, it's time to go, like, I'm okay? I don't know. I get closer to that point where I feel like, yeah, I could just go now. Like I'd be fine. Like, I mean,
Yep.
like, I just want to make sure I'm not laying in that bed thinking like, God damn it, I wish I would have done that. I mean, I know that's what everybody says, but I'm thinking that now because I'm, anticipating at least another 10 years or so. So it's like I need to do all that shit like now before I forget, and then it's like 10 years from now, and it's
Yeah.
like maybe I should do that stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of look at all that stuff like if human beings were a piano, right? I just want to make sure I just play all the keys.
Yeah.
I just want to hit all the notes. I want to have as many experiences as I can, and I definitely live my 20s and 30s that way. Once you get 3 kids, gets a little bit harder to hit all the notes. So then you got to hang out in your basement and grow mushrooms and do podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, not outliving, maybe my most adventurous life anymore. It's all good though.
But life's
Getting to
pretty
do a few
boring.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Life doesn't need to be like excitement all the time every day,
Oh, it
Just
does
once
not
in a
excitement.
while.
It's no.
It's
My
like,
metaphor is the piano keys. They're all a key. They all play a note. One isn't necessarily more exciting than the other. But it's just like having all the experiences. When I hear people go, I hear kids these days talking like, I don't think I want to have kids. I don't think I want to get married. I don't think I want to have, I'm asexual anyway. I don't. I'm just like, you just cleaving off major aspects of like potentially being a human being. Why in your youth are you making all these radical like decisions already to just try to close off things? Like just go ride the roller coaster, live your life, see what happens. Maintain a bit of an open mind. You never know what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Damn, I thought we devolved, but it's looking like a lot of this chat has also devolved too.
oh, I stopped looking at the chat for other people when I'm on with other people. I don't even look at the chat because I get like, oh,
Bro,
whatever.
Fungi Fun just said almost all school shooters have used SSRI and antidepressants. They make people crazy as fuck. Yeah, I was on Zoloft for mild OCD for I think 2 years, and I'm gonna 100% agree with you. I know they put my mother on it for a while, and she also felt like she was going nuts. I'm with you. Now, on the flip side, there are people that it's incredibly necessary for, and it has definitely helped people out. But yeah, the SSRIs can be tricky for sure.
Yeah, that sertraline, they prescribe that a lot here. I don't know if you guys have it. It's I took
Yeah.
one of them one day, my friend, and I was like, oh, let me try one of these for fun. Yeah, I like didn't feel right for like probably about 6 hours. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck did that do to my brain?
It
I
fucked it
felt
up.
like quite anxious. I was like, oh my God, is this like, I thought, is this like the way people normally feel when they take this shit? Because like if I was feeling like this all the time, I could see reality would become very, very different.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and this girl was on it. She was supposed to be taking it like 3 times a day, 4 times a day. And I was like, is this why you act kind of weird? Because you're
Yeah.
like fucked up on this shit all the time. Like, no wonder you're fucked weird. She's a
Yeah.
good friend and she got off it. And it was because it's like she didn't have any emotions. Like, I guess that was the idea. Like, we're supposed to kind of
That's the
have
idea, dude.
emotions.
That's what they want. Yep. That is what they want. Now, if you have a mood disorder, right? Like if you're bipolar and you have these massive uncontrollable mood swings that can put you in danger, that can cause you to want to kill yourself, that can, that are very harmful, then in that instance, of course, putting you on a mood stabilizing drug, although it's not ideal, is better than you ending up killing yourself, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is they're putting a lot of people on these things. And these days, it doesn't seem to take much to want to start suggesting some of these drugs. And so you got a lot of people
I
on
think
these
that's the
drugs.
go-to now, isn't it? I mean,
It's pretty much a go-to, yeah.
yeah, instead of trying to maybe like, I don't know, have a lifestyle change or
Well,
something.
it's not
It's
incorporated ever. When you meet your psychiatrist and he hears all your sad stories and all your problems, he just goes,
It's like looking for the pad.
There's
Yep.
there's the prescription.
Oh, see you next week.
See you next week.
The
Hopefully
next
the drug will
patient.
solve all your problems. There's no integration, right? It's the same problem our community has. We love to talk about growing mushrooms, but Stinkyfoot brought this up last week. Everybody wants to talk about growing them. Not many people want to talk about what integration looks like. What are some of the common themes that and experiences people have during their trips? Let's talk to people who have quit addictive patterns because of the medicine and all that kind of stuff. That is definitely harder. It's harder for me to get people that want to come on the show and talk about that stuff and be super open and honest, for sure. So that's the gestalt of it all.
It's hard for people to probably open up right when they're.
Yeah, I get it.
Gonna...
Yep. And man, to completely pivot, man, I've been thinking a lot lately because I care, and this is why I'm here. I've really been wanting to see the community come together more and more, see itself as a beautiful, multi-dimensional whole, blah, 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 all the metaphors. But I've been thinking a lot about how Meta is going to have a pretty massive impact on Facebook and Instagram and some other social media stuff. And I think my biggest fear, the thing I'm worried about the most, is right when we're at the cusp of a lot more people getting really interested in this medicine, is also coinciding exactly with when Zuckerberg got us all shut down. It's like they figured out, oh, they got a whole microcosm going on here. They got a whole community, self-regulated community. They help people. They teach people how to do this. They're not going to need big pharma. They're not going to need anything. Got to shut all that down. So now the problem is, I mean, make no mistake about it. I don't care how much you like Rumble. The amount of people in Rumble pales in comparison to how many people are on Facebook. And for sure, the major demographic of people who are going to flood into the space in the coming 5 to 15 years are going to be people in the Facebook demographic for sure. And those people are going to get hit not by quality, small, authentic people in the space. They're going to get hit by the big money spenders, the guys who got 50 grand a month to spend on Facebook ads and come at them to take their money. That's the stuff that's been brewing in my brain lately about like, what is our pivot? What is our strategy now to deal with kind of being taken away from the audience of people coming into Facebook and Instagram, getting interested in mushrooms or getting interested in magic mushrooms. That's scary for me.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking about, maybe trying to put together a book. Like, because I'm afraid that like if all this shit collapses, I mean, I know there's a lot of books about growing mushrooms and stuff, but just like one more resource that people would have, because it seems like the online world is so transient. People forget about things that just, what was a hot topic like last year. It's just like it will move so fast now that people, maybe like a somewhat
you never know who's
semi-permanent.
listening, right? We are doing everything through the lens of our own experience. So if we start talking about something that we've talked about a year ago, it's easy in the back of our brains to go, oh, why are we talking about this? We talked about this like for 3 hours last year. Why would we talk about this again? But it's just hard to reframe and be like, but you don't know who's listening tonight. And you don't know who's going to listen to this in the future. And I've been talking to a lot of people who found my podcast lately who are like, oh, I mean, I've been watching all the new episodes and, a couple here and there, but, I haven't watched, you got like 100 and some episodes. I haven't watched them all. And so it's easy to just think like, oh, we shouldn't talk about that because we've talked about it too much. But that is not, probably not the way to think about it.
Yeah, I think reiterating the same ideas
Yeah.
over and over and over again, it's okay because, like
Yeah.
you said, somebody's just coming in now. They might just see a little bit. They
Yep.
might just see like one video,
Yep.
and that might be the
Exactly.
video that you mentioned the same thing that you've talked about 20 times, but they just get that one single
Yep.
exposure to it.
Yep. It's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
a lot of people, even on like when I do my lives on YouTube too, people are like, "Oh, don't you get sick of like answering the same question over and over again?" Not really. Like I could talk about grain.
It's still less often than if you were in if you were in your DMs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I could
Yeah.
I could talk about grain again or egg or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. I'm pretty good at it. I've talked about it like 1,000 times already. I could
Yep.
talk about it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
And
it's definitely good to do it. These platforms are smart. I forget who I was just talking to, but I was just like, look, man, the minute someone starts telling me that they're getting sick of saying the same thing over and over again, that is the exact moment you should be thinking about writing up tech papers. You should be thinking about having a Discord with a bunch of tech channels. You should be thinking about doing podcasts. You should be thinking about doing content. You should be, because if you're answering the same question 100 times, every time I'm in a DM, I'm only talking to one person, right? Right now, you and I are
yeah.
talking directly in this moment to 164 people. And probably another 1,000 to 2,000 will listen to this in the next week. So we're having one conversation one time and we're hitting thousands of people. It's just an efficient use of your time. It's just
Yep.
smarter way to do it. It's information transmission is occurring in a more rapid pace. It's how Bezos gets rich, right? You just got to exploit the structure, the paradigm, and take full advantage, so you can become a billionaire in 1 year. If we want to grow this community, we gotta have more people getting better at transmitting quality information to people, so that they can grow mushrooms and not get caught up on like all the dumb shit. It's gotta somehow figure out how to keep people on track. So yeah, man, repeating core concepts. I don't think that ever gets old.
Yeah.
I really don't. Talking
Yeah,
about cake
exactly.
depth, you can do that, once a month and probably still not be redundant.
Yeah, and people always get like maybe a little bit something. Just it's maybe you say something a different way, or I don't know, you approach the question a different way. I don't know. It might be just something that you heard from somebody else, and you incorporate that into your kind of ideas.
Yep. Yeah.
I think just learning, constantly learning. That's the one thing I hope people in our community too, especially, and maybe people in general, this idea that some people like want to quit learning, like they don't want to learn anything else. And I think
A
that
lot of
is
people
like,
like that.
that's the
Yeah.
toilet bowl, man. You might as well just stop it now because it's like you're just gonna get old and senile.
Yep.
Like, and people that don't want to learn
That's going to
anymore, I'm
happen
like,
anyway,
what?
Ed. Even if you
Yeah.
keep learning, you will still get old and senile. But
But
yeah, I hear you.
I got to replace the shit that I forgot.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I was helping my kid do some math yesterday, and I'm sitting there going, "Holy shit, man!
God.
I took differential equations my sophomore year in college. I got a literal A minus in it. How do I not remember how to do this basic freaking
Same
algebra?"
here, man.
I'm like, "What the fuck?" Or I mean, yesterday or when was it? You were doing some basic like chemistry equations,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
like, I used to do these. How come I can't remember how to do these now? Well, because if you don't use it, you lose it. Just how
Yep.
much
That's
crap
part of the
gets
reason.
crammed in here, that then liberal arts education, right? It's just like cramming information in. Can you perform? Can you synthesize? Can you figure it out? Can you write papers? But it all goes away. Dude, my freaking sister's a nuclear engineer. Her and her husband are. They live in Wilmington, North Carolina. They work for GE. And I remember like 3 months after they graduated from U of M, it's like the #1 nuclear engineering program. It's the only nuke program that's got an actual nuclear reactor at the school. So it gives them a real advantage. Anyway, she's in her job, and I go to visit her in Chicago. This is way back. And I'm like, so like, how's the job? And she's like, well, I got there And I think when she was in school, the reactor worked off of Fortran, which is like a machining programming
that's what
language.
I had to take.
And
That's what I did.
yeah,
North Campus Computer Labs.
oh, so you
fucking
had the same
Fortran,
one, yeah. So she
4
had
in the
that,
morning.
but then the nuclear power plant that she worked for used a different program. So she's like, literally, my first 2 or 3 months has just been sitting in a room learning how to program the new in this other language that's completely different. She's like, it's super annoying because for 6 years I learned one programming language and now I have to do another. And I was like, oh, that's, that sucks, but I mean, it's probably how it is. If you really hate it, go get a job somewhere that uses Fortran. And I started asking her about like, so of all the shit you learned in 6 years, I'm curious, like, how much of it do you use on a daily basis? And she goes, I swear to God, if you don't count learning, I forget the name of the language she had to learn to program shit. But she said
Pascal or C++.
I can't
Pascal.
I think
they were transitioning to Pascal when I was
yeah,
there.
I can't remember, but anyway, she goes, I basically use one calculus equation that she goes, anybody that's taken a second year calculus class would know how to do. And she's like, I absolutely swear to you, I could teach you how to do my job in 6 months. And I was like, oh, Sean, they do not want you telling anybody that. They don't want you telling anybody that what you spent 6 years and a lot of money to learn how to do could be taught to just about anybody in 6 months. Don't tell anybody that. They'll get real mad.
Yeah.
Yep.
The whole education. I mean, we all know it's fucked. Even the
It's
people
so
that are.
fucked.
But it's like a test, It's like you got to prove your test. I mean, so her getting that
Cobalt.
degree.
Sorry,
Cobalt,
Cass just
yeah.
said cobalt. That was it, buddy. That was it. You were right. Yes. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
But it's all is just a big test, I mean, everything
It's a
about
test, yeah.
education is a test. So, like, she would have never got that engineering job if she didn't pass all those previous tests and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like an apprenticeship, and like, if you're a mason or whatever, I don't know, a machinist, you've got to go through your apprenticeship and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. The whole education system is kind of you realize after being involved in it, it's also like a business too. Like
it's become, it used to just be like an obstacle course or like a rite of passage or an initiation process. And it's really truly become more and more just like a big business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh man. I mean, I'm telling you, you at least had a core science track when you were at U of M, but man, I was in the English department, then I was in the film department, and you're sitting there taking these poetry classes or literature classes. They got you convinced that writing poetry is going to change the world. That's the most important thing on earth. They never say, you're never going to get a job with this degree. They do not ever say that.
Unless you want to be a teacher or another professor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, so okay, Transcendental Love just said academia ain't too smart. It's too smart. It's too cunning. It's too sly. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to. There are lots of smart people in academia, but they have no less flaws than everybody else. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're trapped in it though, just like everybody else.
They're
Just like
trapped,
that dude,
yeah.
that dude who worked 50 years,
Yep.
on that auto line. You get trapped in academia. So after you're a teacher for 10 or 20 years, like what else do you do? Like I can't lay bricks. I can't be a mechanic. I can't cut hair. So you
Right.
get into this system of like, well, I liked learning before and I wanted to help other people and I wanted to teach other people, but now I'm trapped in this fucking system. Like, what are you going to do? Even if you're at, like, say, a public school, what if you teach 7th graders? Like, after you've done that for 5 or 10 years, what the fuck are you qualified to do after that? Nothing. Be a teacher.
Oh, doctors are in the same predicament. I mean, they've done studies and surveys and all this stuff. And basically, across almost all specialties, on average, about 2/3 of doctors, when asked if you had to do it all over again, would you still be a doctor? And literally 2/3 said, yeah, not sure that I would do it again. They are utterly trapped. If you get into your specialty and you don't like it, it is almost unheard of to be able to switch specialties.
Oh God, yeah.
And then, I mean, keep in mind that unless you're a GP, almost all these doctors are making $300K and up. So imagine going and getting a PhD, becoming a doctor, making $300K, realizing you hate it. Then what's your pivot?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Make napkin holders and sell them on Etsy? What are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah, how are you going to pay that mortgage on that $800,000 house?
$800,000 home.
Yeah,
You've been living in Thailand a long time. And keep going. If you're a doctor, that's 1.2 starting point for those guys. Yes.
Yeah. And then after 15 or 20 years, your wife leaves you and you're back to living in a van down by the river.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man. Move to Thailand, have some existential crisis, and like get a 22-year-old girlfriend.
That's what they all do.
And then you're back in the same boat.
You just.
It's
like, buddy, you couldn't handle a 20-year-old girlfriend when you were 20 years old. You think you're gonna do a better job at it now that you're 50? Come on. Yeah.
One thing I have to say though is that I wish people would like ease back a little bit. Like academia is not the enemy. I don't understand why people.
God, no.
A lot of people, like I hear them talking about, they'll be like, "Oh, this guy like did this great thing, and he's not in academia." It's like, whoa, okay, like I don't know, like people have this, like I understand, like people had bad experiences in their education, like that's probably why they're in our community, like. But it's like this just anti-education thing. It goes a little bit too far sometimes. Like I feel like people are using it. It's almost like an excuse, like for their failures. I'll be honest. It's like if you weren't good at education, don't fucking blame education, right?
Right.
I'm not good at fixing cars. I'm not saying like, oh, fuck auto mechanics, fuck cars. Like, like I'm not all anti-car because I can't fix a car. I get a feeling a lot of people that didn't do well.
I don't think it's even because of that, man. Weird. I don't even think it's because of that. I think in America, and I don't know if you missed this, but there's been a growing animosity towards expertise. A growing animosity towards, highly educated people. And, some of that comes from this whole narrative that's been unfolding in our country where it's like the authority figures have been exposed to be human beings. Priests are screwing kids. Volleyball coaches are filming girls changing in the locker room. Oh no, don't trust any priests now, right? Like not all priests are molesting children. I am pretty sure that percentage is considerably lower than what the general attitude towards them is. And I'm saying that, and I'm somebody that can be hugely critical of the Catholic Church. But, we've been hearing these stories. The truth is coming out. And the problem is we hear like one anecdotal story about a person that's exploiting their position or their power or their knowledge. And then we go, well, that's what they all must be doing. Don't trust any of them. Right? That's where that's coming from. But I mean, I watch it every day, watching people argue with doctors. Yeah. You arguing with a doctor. You came to the ER because you don't know anything about anything. You couldn't even tell me what your liver does. You name 4 parts of the brain.
They got their WebMD webpage up.
But I typed in 3 words. I put in 3 symptoms. It says I have cancer of the elbow. I'm convinced of it. Yeah. But why are you giving me this drug? My friend Denise, she got this other drug. Well, you're not Denise. Well, I don't get that. Anyway, yeah, I think most of that.
Killers.
And
they're just like, I just want painkillers.
You gave my friend Dilaudid, you motherfucker. Yeah.
Shit. I thought,
Yeah, man.
oh,
Yeah, but there is really a strong, I mean, dude, I see it all the time with, like, okay, I will tell you in my research of paying attention to all the research coming out around COVID, how we handled COVID, vaccines and all that stuff. There were like some small, very small, like outlier reactions to the COVID vaccine. But there are outlier reactions to many vaccines, and they don't always have to do with there being poison or toxin or anything like that in them. It's you're literally giving your body, you're giving your immune system something to respond to. And so sometimes it throws off the immune response, and shit happens. You get Bell's palsy, stuff like that. But some people truly, I mean, people watching this show right now, there are people who truly believe that it was this massive governmental conspiracy just so Fauci could make a few bucks.
Man. My shoulder's that's where I got the vaccine, man.
That's where you got the vaccine. I knew it. It's it's true.
It is, dude.
Oh man. We got too much information now. We got too much shit coming at us. And, you know, some people can just know what to look at and what not to look at and know when to talk and when to not talk. And other people, it's like a new hobby now. Yes. Getting an opinion about something is like the new hobby.
Yeah. I have to tell people all the time how much I don't care, and I could see it frustrates the shit out of them. They're like trying to really get me to care about stuff, and I'm like, I don't really care. I really, really don't care. But they're just like, it's like they're frustrated because I don't care, and it's like, wow, like you must have a very worrisome life. Like what? Like some people like worry a lot, and I just don't know why. I think that sells more products, right? Because when people are worried, they stockpile shit and they prepare for the future and they like rack up their credit card bills because, you know, I need this now because I might not be able to get it next year. And like, it's like, good way to, like, it's easy to control people who are afraid too, right? I mean, that's like the classic thing. You know, that's the classic. Keep everybody afraid. Like, you know, we're what, 5 years apart, right? Maybe 4 years. I grew up with the fucking Cold War and all this like refugees, not like now it's like, you know, it's like, oh, like Russia's gonna invade and we're gonna get nuked and then the Chinese are gonna invade and then it's the Mexicans and it's like all this shit and it's like I realized
wait, the Mexicans are invading now?
Fuck, too late. It's too late. I always fuck with the Chinese people here now. There's a bunch of them, and even on the local news, like there'll be some old white dude, like some old white British guy. He's like, there's a lot of like Russians and Chinese people, and it's like, dude, you're not fucking, it's not your country. Why do you care? And why do you give a shit anyway? I don't know. I always fuck with the Chinese people I know though, because I'm like, yeah, I know what y'all are doing. It's like just like fucking with them. I know you bought a condo, didn't you? I know. They're just like no, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. They're just like, no, I want to be happy just like everybody else. Like, wow, I could buy a cheap condo at the beach for like, you know, I don't know, like $20,000 or whatever the fuck they go for. And it's like people are just like trying to be happy just like everybody else. Like that's all.
Everybody.
There's no master plan. Like the Chinese are not trying to fucking invade Thailand. I don't know. Yeah. They just want to live at the beach like you do.
Did you watch that? I'll have to look up what it is. It was a Spike Lee joint called, hold on. It was like an old war movie. Hold on. Spike Lee movies. Hold on. I'm finding.
I'm like notoriously bad at remembering old movie titles, man. I don't know. I still like me some old Clint Eastwood, man. Fistful of Dollars. I love that. High Plains Drifter. Those are probably two of my favorite movies.
Hold on. Was it this? Sorry. Anyway, as I'm looking for it,
I don't even know any Spike Lee movies.
Point of it is Spike Lee, definitely one of the great American directors alive and of all time, has some really cool movies. I'm just trying to see if I don't think it was this movie. Hold on, where the frick is it?
Yeah, one of my buddies moved to New York and got into the film industry, and God, he changed so rapidly. He was from Ann Arbor, so he's already a little bit up his own ass. But he moved to New York, and it was like, geez, like we went to visit him, me and my other friend from Michigan, and man, we after 6 months we went to visit him. We were both like, just like, yeah, that'll be the last time we see fucking Steve. He's just like, I'm a New Yorker
Fucking
now.
Steve.
Yeah, like I'm a New Yorker now. And then
Why can't I find this movie? I'm like, won't give up. But anyway, sorry. The point of the movie, I was just hoping to find it. But there's a scene where, and it's set in World War II, and there's a scene where they're doing. It's not exactly a montage, but it's a cut, like jump cuts between each side of all these different disparate storylines that are going on from different sides of the war. And it's the moment right before battle when everybody's praying to God. And everybody's doing the, oh God, be on our side. Help us. Keep us alive. Keep us safe. But he's got it cut so that like it's one cohesive prayer, but you're hearing the little bits of it from all these different people. And it does such a great job of showing like the absurdity of praying to a deity as you're about to go to war, that everyone is praying for that. Everyone wants God. If God exists, wants protect me, God. You're going to pick sides, right? Pick my side. Help me murder people that you created, right? Yeah, man. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that came up like last week. One of my friends, he was like, "Oh yeah, like if I really like believe in God or want to believe in God, but if a God exists, why do such bad things happen?" It's like because they don't give a fuck. They don't. If there is a
They
God,
only have
it's
the
irrelevant. They
like,
don't give a fuck.
Miracle at St. Anna. You nailed it, Chris. Yes. Here we go. This is a fantastic movie, by the way. Really just a tremendous war movie. Miracle at St. Anna. But yeah, here we are worrying about everything. Because like I said, right, if we're not envying and lusting and jealous, then what else do we do as human beings? We just live in fear. That's what we do.
Stop worrying. Like you say at the end of the podcast, just grow some mushrooms. Just go grow some mushrooms or whatever.
Go grow some mushrooms. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's probably what I should.
Yes. Always a good call. Go grow some mushrooms. I gave my buddy a bunch of micros the other day, and he's always asking me what's in them, because I always homogenate everything. And I'm like, well, if I remember, it's mostly this and this and this. And this one was almost all Timbit. And I was like, well, you're going to get I think a real taste of Timbit, because it's at least 90% of what's in there. And he messages me like 2 days later. He goes, holy shit, man, I love Timbit. It's like, yep, there you go, man. There you go. That's, something special. I talked to Happy about this. Happy's always telling me about, people overdoing it with mushrooms and, wanting to do 10 grams and 50 grams and 1,000,000 grams. And he's like, yeah, man, some of these people, we were hanging out with Myco Mamas, and I think Mama S was talking about having like a bad trip or something. And later Happy was like, yeah, man, if you get a really bad trip, it's gonna put the fear of God in you. You're gonna chill out. And yeah, man, gotta be a tool. Gotta use it with reference. Have to know why you're doing what you're doing. It's not a dick swinging contest. It's not a, hey, how many beers you had, man? Oh, 3 beers. Oh, bro,
Yeah.
I've had fucking 8 beers already, bro. Like, I'm in the alcohol contest. I'm winning, bro.
That's funny.
no.
I just used that example like 2 days ago. Yeah. It's like, I think that ended when I was like 21. Like bragging about like how much you drink is not really that cool, or how many mushrooms you ate. Like I don't know if you think like eating more mushrooms makes you cooler than somebody else, like you're missing the point, I think.
Clearly. Yeah.
But
Yep.
well, I don't know. Maybe that's it. You know, if you're 19 years old, maybe that's get set you late on Friday night. I don't know.
I don't know.
Good.
I
You can
don't know
have
if I buy
babies
that.
early and eliminate some of those possibilities for your
There you go.
like life will become much more simpler. 'Cause you eliminate
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man.
So I'm gonna move to the Philippines.
Let's move to the
Got a good,
Philippines. They got a
good
bunch of
religion.
islands to choose from.
Yeah,
Their president just killed off
I
every
can
bad guy in
I can move.
yeah.
I can jump from island to island.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get into scuba diving. There's some good
Outcrossing,
scuba diving.
man.
There you
Outcrossing.
go. Yes, to tie it all back in. Outcrossing. And there's a lot of water there, so you can work on your
Like the
osmotic
circle of
pressures.
life. Yes. I just need a post office in Quar.
That's all we really need. That's what you need to make a t-shirt that's just like one of them black t-shirts that just has words
Uh,
stacked on top of each other, and it's just like post office, quar, genetics, happiness, or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, could be. I'm trying to be somebody last week they said I was abrasive on my podcast. So I'm trying to be less dirty, vulgar.
Yeah.
But it's really hard because I've had
It
to stop
is.
myself like 4 times just in the last couple hours.
If people knew how vulgar I was on a regular basis, they would be astonished how long I go before I say a swear word on here. Yeah.
I know, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's funny to me when people actually mention it because I'm like, wow, like what kind of people do they hang out with? Like I'm not really that vulgar and I don't really swear that much, but I'm like, who do they hang out with?
Yeah. I work with a doc who got in trouble for swearing. One of the oncoming doctor gave her a hard time because she was dropping F bombs, in our little workstation area. And he was like, the patients can hear you and all this stuff. And I totally agree with that. Like, I don't drop F bombs in the ER as a general rule, but she literally
No,
looks at that guy and is just like,
you are fucked.
she's like, well, I just read an article that said that dropping F bombs is a sign of intelligence. So maybe you're just stupid. She literally said it to the guy. He's like this
Oh,
old curmudgeon doctor. Yeah, that didn't go over well, but yeah.
yeah, the F bombs. I guess people still have a big deal with that. You know,
Yep. I
I'll
mean, we're
probably,
only sitting here talking about growing Schedule 1
I
magic
know.
mushrooms all day. So pick your
Yeah,
battles, guys.
I always love it when I sit for like, yeah, 3 or 4 hours and talk about drugs. And then at the end, I'll be like, these fucking potheads, god damn it. Go on
Uh,
my little 5 minute rant about fucking potheads.
yeah.
They're like fucking, yeah, me, the 30-year alcoholic, fucking talking about magic mushrooms for 4 hours. Fucking potheads. No, but it's funny here because it's everywhere here now. Like it's literally like you walk outside, you can't go anywhere without the smell of weed. Like it's just so permeates every other bench
Yeah,
that
it's like
somebody's
going to
smoking a
Denver.
joint.
Yeah.
Oh, is
Like
it like
that.
I was
Oh,
wondering,
God, yeah.
is
Yeah.
Colorado just a whole state full of druggies now? Is that like it seems
I
like
don't know. I
everybody's
have
moving
heard
there
that
now.
there's some issues. But yeah.
Yeah. Is that just like why people? It seems like that's the reason why people move to Colorado now, like is to just be
For a while,
immersed in
Denver
that.
was like a real up and coming city for a bunch of other reasons, just like a cool hip city. But yeah, it's definitely getting to be more that way. Portland's the
Mm,
same way. Um,
mm.
I know Seattle, dude. We took our family to Seattle a couple years ago, and it just, they have like I don't know what the term is for the city, but basically you can do whatever you want. All these people get to,
Mm.
so you just got people smoking crack on the street. I'm literally walking, I'm holding the hand of my 5-year-old walking by a guy just like smoking rock and shit. Yeah, it was interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched that
Yep.
one guy, Joe Santinelli or something like that once in a while, and he goes in some of those cities and it's like, oof, I don't know,
Yep.
that's kind of some scary stuff, but
Oh yeah. I mean, so all these issues, this is what I always think about all this, like abortion, the border, all these like hot button topics. The reason that they are ongoing issues is because they are nuanced, complicated, hard to solve problems. And yeah, so like, yeah, abortion, sure. Yeah, we don't have to argue whether it's a person or it's a fetus and all that stuff. Fetuses do turn into people, but let's not act like we're so precious about human life. Right? Because the minute the baby's born, no one gives a shit anymore. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that all these things, anytime there's like a hot button topic, yeah, man, there's a reason this is the shit everybody argues about all day, because it's complicated.
Yeah, that's the same shit I got when I was 18 in like my first social science class, I don't understand why people still want to talk about it. It's like, this is boring. It's a very boring topic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to change anybody else's mind. Like, that's why I don't understand. Why are you arguing with somebody? You're not going to change their mind. So what's the point? Like, do you think you're going to come up with some brilliant, like, did you ever think about this? Yeah. Like, yeah, probably they did. I'm sure they did.
Dude, that was my dad today. We got into it. My dad, he's turned into this, like, massive, like, afraid of socialism. The world is, America's turning socialist.
Communists.
And communists and all that stuff. And anyway, I walk into their house.
Bastards.
My dad has a literal Nixon Now bumper sticker on the door of their kitchen. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, what? Oh, I just got it. I thought it'd be a funny joke. And I was like, okay. Yeah, you just bought like memorabilia of like one of the worst presidents of all time. And he goes, no, Nixon was completely misunderstood.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, and we're done.
Yeah, that's why Thanksgiving is such a fucking great holiday, right? You get to talk to your relatives about that shit for 4 fucking days.
Ideally,
Make sure you got like enough cases of beer.
Yep. That's when I go full Myco Mamas. They just said, we don't talk about our opinions. Yep. That's the point where you go, oh, okay, I'm out. This is not a conversation that I win.
No, exactly.
This is not about winning anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no point to talk about certain shit.
There's
just absolutely no point to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's probably like most marriages. That's probably those marriages that last like 50 years. It's like, yeah, I don't really know this fucking person I live with. There's a certain level of like, I don't really care what the fuck they think anymore. Yeah. We just live together.
Yeah. Do you know how many times I heard some old man basically say, yes, honey. Yep. And you were like, this guy is not even hearing what they're saying. He is just in autopilot mode. Just, yep, whatever you say. Yep. And then everywhere beg about married for.
I tried
and married 50 years. All we had to do is just ignore each other for 50 years, and it worked out great. Yeah.
Probably. It's probably what they all eventually turn into. Yeah, I mean, for fuck's sake, you probably get bored of a person after a while.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't that interesting. If you're living with, that's like when you have a best friend and you're like, let's move in together. It's like, yeah, that'll be the end of that friendship.
Yeah.
Like every friendship I ever had and we ended up living with each other, it's like, yeah, I don't talk to them people anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
now, I will say this, though. We have to learn to disagree with people and be okay with that. Happy and I, we're buddies. We don't have, like, we're not utterly aligned in our perspective on life and religion and politics and all that. It's cool. It's all good. We get in light little, not arguments, but, talking back and forth about stuff. We definitely are now in this era where, we're so brainwashed by our Facebook feeds and our Instagram feeds, and we're only being fed what we believe and we like, and, the algorithms got us figured out. And so we've created this little bubble for ourselves, this feel-good bubble. And we're just terrible at disagreeing. Yeah.
I think people like to feel like they're right, like I'm the
Yeah.
right one.
Right.
Like that's very important for some people. If they don't feel like they've got it all figured out, it makes them very uncomfortable. Because then it makes them evaluate their own beliefs and their own like thoughts, and they're like, no, it's better if I just think I'm right. Like I don't want anybody to question me. Like let me just stay over here with the people that like think I'm right also, and like everything will be okay.
Right. Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, Michael Allen just said no matter what, 50% won't agree with anyone's politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, like historically, it's shocking how down the line it is, right? Like these presidents aren't winning by like 80 and 90% margins. They're winning at like 51%, 52%. There are very few like Mississippi states, right, that swing heavy one way or the other way. It's all pretty much right down the line, but it's always been this way. Like back in the day, either your guy won or he didn't win. And if your guy won, then you were like a little excited about that for a few years. And if he lost, you were a little sad. But now you got people just getting real bent out of shape. Like, we can't have this. My person didn't win, so we have to sue. I mean, I am so sick of just everybody suing everybody all the time about... Anyway, yeah.
It's kind of like sports games, It doesn't matter who wins the football game. You still sell the same amount of beer. Like, it's like if you're at the bar drinking because you're sad, or you're at the bar drinking because you're celebrating. Like, it doesn't really matter. They still sell the same amount of beer.
That is exactly true, dude. Yes. All right, man. I don't know why. I have this like thing. I'm on my MacBook, and it only has 2 little like USB-C ports. So I have to use this adapter. But I have the adapter plugged in, but it won't charge it. So I'm literally about to die. I just got the notification. So we should probably call it. Man, that's weird. I don't know why it wouldn't be charging through that. Anyway,
I looked. It might not be enough wattage or something. I was just looking the other day at new laptops if it's pulling multiple wattages or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably it. I didn't even look at it. Yep. All right, man. Well, this was fun. We'll obviously do it again. And this is historic for me. This is the first time I've done a MycoGeeky podcast in someone else's house. So there we go.
Like, you got to be quiet. Oh wait, you're outside.
I'm in like I'm above a garage behind my parents' house. It's a completely separate, but it's just not my. It's not my house, or it's not my, like when I did Josephine.
They're gonna send a drone, man. They're gonna send a drone. Don't.
No, my parents know all about this. They're they're keen to it now. So.
Oh, they do. So. Well, that's funny. I never would have. My parents are both dead. I never would have thought about what my mom would think about.
I mean, in the beginning, my dad came around way more slowly than my mom did. My mom was like, "Get me off my Ativan." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." My dad, on the other hand, he's one of them people. I mean, maybe if he was dying of a terminal illness, he'll try psilocybin, but yeah, he's like, good for you, but not for me. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, all right, man. Cool. Well, this was.
I'm gonna go grow some mushrooms.
Yeah, man, we gotta do that. Cool, man.
I gotta go to the post office.
Yeah, I'm building sterilizers over here. I brought like a little kit to get a few of my sterilizers done, and so it's everything's very weird this week, where I'm just doing some of my normal things, but somewhere else. It's very weird. Very weird. Exactly. Yeah. All right, man. I will talk to you later.
See ya. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya. All right, guys. We did it. Remote from Muskegon, Michigan. If you're rocking the West Michigan lifestyle, holler at me. We can go hang out this week. And until next week, go grow some mushrooms.